the capital city, Columbia, South Carolina, on the east coast of these United States to the satellites above Earth and into your homes, your mobile devices, and of course, monitored by the NSA. This is Late Night in the Midlands, and I am Michael Vera, and I do welcome you all, wherever it is you may be around the globe, in the chat room, well, wherever you are. We've got a good one tonight. We will be talking with Ray Hernandez. He is from FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. So it should be a very interesting show tonight. And as always, we don't plan or pre-interview. We want to cover it. We cover it. We just get into it. We have a conversation. That's what we're going to do tonight here on Late Night in the Midlands. It's Friday night. For you at LNM Radio, Dark Matter Radio Network, it is Saturday for you. I don't know what's going on here. I've got a glitch. I noticed it when I started the startup music. There was some kind of glitch going on the board, and I gotta say, it's a bit distracting, and I hope that it stops. I don't know what it is. It's kind of like it's telling me it pauses, but it's not pausing. So anyways, LateNightInTheMidlands.com, folks. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. And again, for those of you on the Dark Matter Radio Network, it is Sunday for you, and you should not call in. But for everybody else, we're live, and we're ready to kick this one tonight with Ray Hernandez. And, well, there it goes. It looks like it stopped. Well, good, because I was starting to wonder if we weren't going to have an issue here starting the show, but we're good. All right, so I've got some news I want to get into. Obama says thank you to Americans for supporting control of the internet, so he is thanking all of you. And I've seen a lot of propaganda out there, people saying, oh, this is great, congratulations. Well, Ron Paul noted today the FCC is a non-elected federal government agency that has decided without a vote from Congress or permission from the American people to regulate the internet. Paul characterizes this as the largest regulatory power grab in recent history that will undoubtedly have serious consequences for the average internet user, including the possibility of de facto censorship of ideas perceived as threatening to the political class. Ideas like the troops should be brought home, or the Patriot Act should be repealed, or military spending and corporate welfare should be cut, and the Federal Reserve should be audited and ended. Well, the move will likely force a lot of online broadcasters, much like myself maybe, to provide equal opportunities for political opponents. So when I have, say, a presidential candidate on, it could then be insisted that I have, the candidate nobody would want to vote for as well. So not that I'm, thinking that the elections are going to really matter much, because I don't. But, I've had Jesse Ventura on. I've had a few others who plan on running in 2016. Well, I would be forced to have like your Jed Bushes and Hillary Clintons on and people like that. Are you kidding me? No freaking way. I'd avoid it altogether if I had to do that. Anyways, the FCC has made it clear that this is what it plans to do. And so that's linked up under news and discoveries on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Walmart begins to sell out of AR-15 ammo. I wonder why. Panic buying causes shortages after release of ATF proposal to ban bullets, as gun shops report shortages of the AR-15 ammunition following the ATF's proposal to prohibit the sale of steel-tipped 5.56 millimeter bullets. One reader contacted InfoWars to report that the local Walmart had sold out of ammo. Now, I looked it up a few other places. I found verification of this, that there are several Walmarts that are selling out of this ammo, despite having substantial stocks just a couple weeks ago. Yesterday, it was revealed that the ATF intends to ban sales of the ammunition, typically used by sports shooters in the name of protecting law enforcement officers from the threat posed by ammunition capable of penetrating protective vests. So gun stores are immediately reporting that people were panic buying cases of these bullets. So see what's happening? Tell you, they're going to stop making the bullets, and then they'll stay. They don't have to actually take the guns. All they have to do is stop making the ammunition. And it appears as though some Walmart stores are also beginning to sell out of the same ammunition. There's been actually several of them who are having this issue. So that's linked up too. There's a lot more there if you want to go and check it out yourself. Mystery bunker discovered in Toronto. Now, this is interesting. Police are attempting to find out who built an elaborate tunnel near the venue for the Pan Am Games. The extensive underground structure was first discovered back in January, but having been unable to solve the mystery of who constructed it and why, the police have now revealed all known details of the case in an effort to appeal for more information. The tunnel, which has now been filled in, is not thought to have posed any danger to the Pan Am Games venue, despite being built only a short distance away from York University's Kiel campus. They say that it measured somewhere around 6'3" in height and something like 34 inches across and 10 meters. It stretched about 10 meters. So that would be about 32 feet, I guess, under the ground. It had been built with some degree of skill by someone, they say, who obviously knew what they were doing. So, the government's got their bunkers too. But the news conference they're going to have announcing the tunnel's discovery can actually be viewed. There's a link, News and Discoveries, LateNightInTheMidlands.com. You'll see a link there, UnexplainedMysteries.com. You'll click that link. Take you right over. You can see it all. Star Trek actor Leonard Nimoy dies at age 83. Best known for his role as Mr. Spock in Star Trek. Well, he's died. They say that he died from chronic obstruction pulmonary disease after recently being hospitalized for chest pains. His wife Susan confirmed that he passed away at his home in Bel Air, Los Angeles on Friday morning. Again, he was 83 years old. Live long and prosperous. It had become a very popular with his character and a catchphrase for devoted fans around the world. And so again, 83 years old, Spock is no longer with us. Monster black hole in the largest and brightest ever found, they say. Astronomers have discovered the largest and most luminous black hole ever seen, an ancient monster with a mass of about 12 billion times that of the sun that dates back to when the universe was less than 1 billion years old. It remains a mystery how black holes could have grown so huge in such a relatively brief time after the dawn of the universe. Researchers have said that the supermassive black holes are thought to lurk in the hearts of most, if not all, large galaxies. The largest black holes found so far in the nearby universe have masses more than 10 billion times that of our sun. In comparison, the black hole at the center of the Milky Way is thought to have a mass only 4 million to 5 million times that of the sun. That is linked up as well, folks. And we've got, again, a great guest coming on with us tonight. This will be his first time on Late Night in the Midlands. But I'm pretty confident we're going to have a great conversation with Ray Hernandez tonight as we talk about FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. And I'll tell you a little bit about this. They say that this, he tells me this Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters is undertaking the first ever comprehensive academic research study on the ET contact phenomena. The free experiencer research study, he says, our study will focus on individuals who have had any type of UFO-related contact with non-human intelligent beings. No one has ever attempted this type of study before. For the first time ever, he says, we will have comprehensive data on the experiencer contact phenomena. Well, this is good. This is real good. I mean, they're going extensive. Now, I've talked to plenty of people who have had some sort of contact or another throughout the last 7.5 years on this show, and I don't know, a lot of similarities in their stories. My guest tonight is Ray Hernandez. He is an experiencer and also an estate tax attorney with the IRS. He was previously the director of the Center for a Sustainable Urban Environment at the City University of New York, and the director of the Office of Community Environmental Planning for the City of New York. He has attended Rutgers College, Cornell University, and was a PhD candidate at UC Berkeley in city and regional planning. He was also the recipient of a National Science Foundation PhD fellowship. Ray resides with his family in Miami, Florida, and he will join us after this break. So, folks, I am going to take the break, but before I do, let me just tell you, folks, we're still not quite there. We could use your help. Please keep us on the air. Keep the other shows that run on the Late Night in the Midlands Network as well on the air by donating and subscribing. We're on a lot of networks, folks, but it all stems from home, and the mothership is LateNightInTheMidlands.com, at least for this show. And, we need help to stay on. We're listener supported. Without you, there'll be no us. I mean that. It's the God's honest truth. So help us out. We're almost there. And we can make our quota and go into March with more of the best guests, the best information. I'm Michael Vera. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network, and Saturday and Sunday night on the Dark Matter Radio Network. So, folks, we'll be back in just a moment with my guest. Don't go anywhere. The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you.
Hello, this is Dick Farrell, here to tell you about OxySilver. Legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Don't be fooled buying silver products from copycats and criminals. You've heard Dr. Leonard Horowitz and experts urge you to avoid deadly vaccinations and illegal operators selling stolen OxySilver and OxySilver copycats. You've heard experts tell you about suppression in alternative medicine and confusing propaganda in healthcare and the truth movement. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use Green Harvest as a great-tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight. And Zeolove, and natural clays for detoxifying your body. More advice, all these products and more are available from TheCureShop.com. including Oxy Silver, the world's most powerful silver hydrosol. Electro-energized to put risky injections, toxic antibiotics, and deadly drug pushers out of business. Oxy Silver is covalently bonded to water. Unlike any other silver product using the frequency of chlorophyll 528, what Dr. Horowitz explains is pure tone love, the universal healer. NASA originally developed covalently body silver hydrosols to keep astronauts healthy in space. Dr. Horowitz added the 528 frequency to NASA's formula and more. Oxy Silver works three ways to electrocute dangerous germs better than anything, far better than all leading silver products, and without any risk. Oxy Silver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthworldaffiliates.com/4948. That's healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948. And buy Oxy Silver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy Oxy Silver, GI Flora Pro, Green Harvest, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with two P's. CureShoppe.com. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
And as we have been programmed mentally, intellectually, one must be aware of this being programmed like a computer.
Programming that we are constantly assaulted by throughout our life conditions us. It programs us to a particular worldview.
The project is literally the secularization of the world. New secular or worldly order.
A new study says the news media have been pushing a gospel of godlessness on the American public.
Because this media is here and designed to make sure that they ask no critical questions. To make sure that the only thing that they are concerned about is having a good time. The only thing they're concerned about is filling their bellies. The only thing they're concerned about is acquiring more and more material things. And so that is why today, one of the struggles that you have as young people, that when you want to do different events and you want to talk about real issues, you have the struggle of many of your peers who've been so conditioned in this matrix that they would rather party than listen to the truth. They would rather party and shop and go to the mall than to stand up for issues of justice. They're stuck in the matrix. But you have the responsibility of helping to wake them up.
Now, how do we know that there's a God?
After having been thoroughly brainwashed.
And how do we know that there's a creator?
There's an alien at the gate. He's waiting to come in. There's an alien at the gate. He's waiting to come in. Should I go out and meet him, or should I run straight for the hills? There's a UFO above a field. It's mutilating cows. There's a UFO above a field. It's mutilating cows. The farmer's getting restless. He can see the beam of light coming down.
All right, folks, we are back.
There's something in my
Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera, and I do want to give a shout out to our radio affiliates quickly. The Dark Matter Radio Network. Hello to everybody listening there. K98 Talk. Hello to all of you. And, of course, High Point Radio, the top of New Jersey. They cover New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania on 100.5 FM and 1700 AM. And, of course, a special hello to all of you listening at latenightinthemidlands.com. So we've got a pretty good guest tonight. I've read you off the bio. We're going to get into the experiencer part of things, the people who have actually made contact. And, you know, we've had several on this show who we've spoken with, who have told us their contact. And I know that there's a lot of you out there who are skeptical, and, you know, I guess that's okay. It's okay. See, for me, I know that there's some who BS out there, but not all of them do. And I think it's the minority. I think that, you know, a lot of these stories are true, just like these paranormal stories. I think a lot of them are true, especially people who have no reason to make up things. I mean, a lot of the guests I get, they don't always have books and websites and things. Some of the guests I have don't have any of that, like John DiNardo, for instance, who was on the other night. He's got nothing. He's not selling anything. He's just a regular guest, just like many of the other guests we've had. But anyways, my guest tonight is Ray Hernandez. I've told you a little bit about him. We're going to bring him on and hear some more. This ought to be a fascinating conversation. I can't wait to hear about these studies. He sent me so much information. I haven't had a chance to get through all of it, but I have scaled through some of it, and that's why I know this is going to be a really good conversation tonight. So, everyone, let's bring Ray on the air with us. All right. Ray Hernandez, I want to welcome you to Late Night in the Midlands. How are you?
Hello, Michael. How are you, sir? Can you hear me well?
I can hear you just fine, thank you. So
fantastic.
Well, I appreciate you taking time out to be with us tonight, and I apologize for all the past issues with, you know, that we were supposed to have you on a lot sooner than this. So
no problem.
All right. Well, hey, it's great to have you here, and I can't wait to hear all about this FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. I guess if we could start out with a little bit of your background, and then tell us more about FREE.
Surely. My background. I'm currently an estate tax attorney with the IRS in Miami, Florida, and this estate tax is basically an inheritance tax. So don't get scared of me unless you die with more than $5 million of net assets.
Okay.
So it's a job. You know, it's boring as hell, but it pays the bills. And I personally don't like the IRS myself, but you know, it pays the bills, and it's I've been doing it for almost 17 years now. And previous to that, I had worked various jobs. One lengthy job I had was with the City University of New York, and that's in Manhattan. It's a big major university there, and I was the director of an environmental studies program there. And then previous to that, I was an assistant commissioner with the New York City Department of Environmental Protection, which is a huge, gigantic agency that deals with water and environmental issues in the city of New York. And previous to that, I was a PhD candidate at the University of California, Berkeley. I attended graduate school there for a PhD program for about 4 years. And then previous to that, I attended Cornell University for a master's program. And both of these programs were in city and regional planning. And so that's a little bit about my background. I had an academic background, and I've been an attorney now for the last 16 years or so.
Oh, fascinating. So now what drove you down the road of extraterrestrials?
Well, let me tell you what I was before all of this happened. My first initial experience started in March of 2012, and up to that point, I had been pretty much an overeducated material atheist rationalist. That's a lot of words, but basically, I had no spiritual background whatsoever. My wife is a hardcore Catholic. She was raised in Mexico, and if you miss church, she's gonna give you a beating, And I would accompany her to church, but I had no inclination for anything spiritual whatsoever. I was also, as you could tell by my academic background, I was pretty much a material rationalist, which is, in layman's term, is someone that, unless you prove it to me scientifically, there's nothing there. Documented, showed to me, demonstrated me in a scientific way. Other than that, it's full of it.
I'm still like that. So in some areas, I still get like that. But yeah, go ahead.
And I had no background whatsoever with anything related to UFOs, to ETs, the paranormal. It just wasn't in my vocabulary. I'd never been exposed to that. And then in March, I believe it was March 4th, Sunday, March the 4th, 2012, we had a 16-year-old dog, a Jack Russell Terrier, that we were pretty much keeping her alive with lots of medication. She was walking around like a 90-something-year-old lady. That in dog years, that's what that translated to. Sort of like an old lady with a walker, very slow with arthritis. We knew any day, her time was up. And so on a Saturday night, she had a stroke. She was paralyzed from the neck down. And then we called our vet, and it was a good friend of ours, and described her symptoms. And she said, look, from what you're telling me, she's had a stroke. And, if you want, I could open up my office tomorrow and we could put her to sleep. And my wife, said, I want to do a little ceremony with her there, and he says, fine, So this is a Saturday night. So Sunday morning, we were going to put her to sleep. All night, my wife was praying, the hardcore Catholic prayers with the rosary beads, the whole stuff.
Yeah.
And then at 6 in the morning, the dog was barking because remember, she could move from her neck down, so she could still bark and move her neck. So then my wife said, oh, maybe she's better. She's better. So, we picked her up, we moved her around, and still she was totally paralyzed from the neck down. And so at that point, my wife picked her up and I went back to bed, and it was Sunday morning, remember, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I almost went back to sleep almost immediately. And all of a sudden I heard my wife yelling at me, Ray, Ray, Ray. and I was like, please, I want to sleep. I didn't sleep well the night before, leave me alone. Ray, Ray, Ray. And then let me describe what my wife saw, and then later on I'll tell you what happened later on. Okay. So this is after this whole incident. My wife described to me what she had saw when she got downstairs. What she described was when she got down the stairs, she saw an object that was floating 4 feet off the ground, 1 foot off of the back wall in our living room, and 1 foot with another wall where we have a window. And the window is facing the west side. And there is very dark, that living room, because we have a dividing wall that blocks all the sun from some windows that are on the east side. So it was pretty dark there. And so she saw this object that was floating 4 feet off the ground, and what it looked like was sort of an upside down U. It was metallic, maybe a little bit translucent to it, and silverish in color. It was roughly, if I can recall, 2 feet wide by 3 feet in height. It looked like it's an upside down U, and it had 2 green lights in the center of it. So my wife, being the good, hard Mexican Catholic that she is, she knelt down and started praying, and basically said, if you're a bad spirit, get the hell out. If you're an angel or a good spirit, or the Virgin Mary, even she told me afterwards, she said basically then she told it to stay. The only thing is, don't let my dog suffer. So at that point, these 2 green lights started blinking and started. And then from the side, this white fluorescent light started shooting out. And that's when she really freaked out. That's when she started calling me. And so I was ignoring her. And she kept on yelling at me, Ray, Ray, Ray. And so finally, after a certain amount of minutes, she went upstairs and brought me downstairs physically. She grabbed my hand and hauled me out of bed. And so she was in front of me walking down the stairs. And in my head, I was like, this better be good. That cockroach better be one of these water bugs, you know. And so, to ruin my, my Sunday morning sleep. So when I got downstairs, what I saw was not, first of all, I didn't see her and the dog. It was like all of a sudden, poof, she was gone and the dog was gone. And then immediately I focused to that corner wall, and I sort of had like tunnel vision where I couldn't see anything else. I just saw that object in front of me. And what it was it's a plasma being. I call it a being because it controlled my mind. And let me tell you what it looked like. It was roughly 2 to 3 feet wide by 1.5 to 2 feet in height. And it was pure energy. It was sort of rectangular in shape, but it didn't have any external edges because it was a pure energy thing floating in the air. Multicolored. Not like the rainbow where it was each color had its separate area. It was all mixed in there. It's like you took dye and you squirted it in your bathtub, and it was like all moving around.
Yeah.
It was looking something like that, but like tons of color. It wasn't like watery. It was like tons of colors, all flashing and moving around like an energy. And it was semi-translucent. It wasn't like a solid object. And then I did something that for many, many months I couldn't figure out why I did it. I basically waved my hand at it, and I said, bullshit. Okay? And then I turned around. I walked back up the stairs. I got into bed. I put my hand on my chest, and I looked straight up at the ceiling for 15 minutes with my eyes wide open. I don't recall anything during those 15 minutes. Okay? Mm-hmm. Then about 15 minutes, it was like the hypnotist snapped his fingers, and said, okay, kid, wake up. We're done with the wife and we're done with the dog. And all of a sudden I snapped out of it. And I was like, holy cow, what the hell just happened? I ran down the stairs, and then picture this scenario. My wife was like in a Pentecostal church, waving her hands up and down. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. The angels cured her, the angels cured her. And she was dancing on the floor. And then then the dog was zooming on the floor. Zoom, 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 like a little puppy. And she would be picking it up and hugging it and twirling it around and dancing with the dog and putting the dog down. And she was dancing, hallelujah, hallelujah, the angels cured her. And in my head, I was like, what the, what? Yeah. It was like, since that day, my whole worldview came crashing down. Okay. Then I started asking her, what the hell happened, And she says, the angels came. My angels came. They answered my prayers. They came and they cured my nenita. Nenita means little girl in Spanish. And our dog's name was Nena, little girl. And so I said, well, what do you mean? I didn't see any angels. I saw this plasma thing. She says, well, you didn't see them because you're an atheist, You don't believe in God. and we had that whole discussion of me being an atheist and all that stuff. And then she described what she saw, that metallic object. And I told her, that's not what I saw. I saw something totally different. And she says, well, I didn't see that, And I said, well, by the way, I didn't see you and the dog when I got downstairs. What happened to you? She says, well, I was here the whole time, And so there was some confusion as to, what took place there in the living room. So then a couple of months later, the dog woke my wife up at about 3:30 in the morning. And my wife then, the dog was fully, like a little puppy, super energized. So my wife went to open the back door. The dog didn't want to go in the back door, and that's where she goes to the bathroom in the backyard. She wanted to go in our front door. And we never opened the front door, especially at night, Yeah. The dog was jumping up and down on the front door. This is all what my wife was telling me. So when my wife gets down the stairs in the front door, boom, she sees a big, gigantic UFO craft, the size of a football field. And this is the way how she describes it. Oh, my angels came and visited me last night. They came in a ship that had colors just like the stained glass windows of our church. It was so angelic, And I was like, what? Yeah. Angels in a UFO ship, and I was like, I couldn't believe it, Then she started telling me, that it was huge. She would be pointing out it was like from that tree over there to that tree over there, and and how far away it was like maybe 2 blocks away. And then I estimated there was like a huge, gigantic ship, I said, well, how long did it last? And she said it was like a minute or two. And then what happened? She said it just disappeared. And then after that, she went to Mexico, and she stayed like a month in Mexico to visit with her family. And I won't go over all the details, but there were like 3 different occasions where sometimes her by herself, sometimes with her family members, that she had seen these huge crafts. Twice it was with family members. Okay, so there were many witnesses to this. And then when she came back home from Mexico in towards the end of August, she didn't tell me anything, because during that 6-month period, all I did was just go to the internet, and I would type in UFOs, paranormal, ETs. And during that 6-month period, all it did was just confuse me more, because they were devils, they were angels, they were, Anunnakis, they were Nephilims, they were this, they were that. And I was like, can I get a straight answer from somebody here, Because I'm used to going into the library, doing some academic research, and boom, it'd be right there. But here it's like it was all over the page,
Yeah.
So one of the things I did was what is called an academic literature review, which is to find out what has been written about the topic of ET contact by academics. And what I found out, there was very, very little. Statistical studies, almost none. Okay, the works by Dr. John Mack, they weren't statistical studies. These were basically qualitative studies that summarized his interviews with various experiencers, and that was the 2 books that he had used. And I would say half of the literature, the academic literature, were studies that were done by psychologists and psychiatrists to determine whether experiencers are crazy or not. And all of the studies came back that we're normal people, that these people are normal people having, experiences that seem very normal to them.
And you know what, Ray? I've always felt that way too, that most of the people that come to me and talk to me, or even on the show about their experiences, I think probably 95% of them, I think, are telling me the truth.
Well, in my case, I saw a huge, gigantic craft with my daughter and 3 other friends of mine. So you had 5 people. And in the state of Florida, as you know, I'm an attorney, 5 people telling you that they saw you pull a gun and kill this guy, that's enough to put you in the electric chair in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's not one person. That's 5 people telling the same story. But I'm sort of jumping in the gun here a little bit. So basically, this academic literature review, what I came up was that there were very, very few studies on this. Nothing statistical about it, So I really couldn't get any straight answers, And now, in terms of books, there were 1,000,001 books that were written by experiencers. And there were certain books that were written by researchers. The best one that I came across was a recent book by Kathleen Martin and Denise Stoner called Alien Abduction Files. And they did some minimal, about I think it was 25 questions that they asked of about 60 experiencers. And then they crunched out that data and they published a book on it. So that's the most recent and pretty much the best statistical study that has been done, but that's quite minimal. That's only 70 people, and it only asked 25 questions. Okay, but still, it was commendable because they did something that was very, very important. Now let's backtrack in terms of August of 2012. Okay. So up until that point, I had been reading all these UFO books. I had ordered from the internet, 50 of these UFO books. I had read maybe most of them. I had a few left. And still, I couldn't get any straight answers to talk about the ET contact phenomenon, which was what happened to me. So what happened was I had a friend of mine who was going to be giving me a document. And he says, Ray, I got it. And I said, well, where you're at? He says, oh, I'm very close to your house. So this was, I think it was during the week. It was about 9 o'clock at night, totally cloudy night. So I'm waiting outside for him. And then I remember seeing those 2 huge trees where my wife had seen the UFO. And I was saying to myself, wow, that was a huge craft. Because I'm never out in front of our house. We have a nice pool in the backyard, a huge terrace, a big backyard, gigantic backyard. And in the front, nobody's out there. There's no neighbors. There's no even the through street that goes by our house. We live in a cul-de-sac.
Yeah.
And so then I remembered the day before I had seen this guy on YouTube where he was calling down a craft. And it was during the daytime, and he had a little camcorder. And what he recorded was like a little tiny dot in the sky that was moving around. And so I'm waiting for my friend. I said, the hell with it. Let me try, I really wasn't super serious about it, But I said, the hell with it. While I'm waiting for my friend, let me experiment. So I was like, I closed my eyes. I said, I want to see the beautiful angelic craft that my wife saw. She describes you as angels. She said you had colors on your craft, just like the stained glass windows of our church. She had the privilege of seeing you, but I didn't. Could you please show yourself to me? Blah, 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 blah. Then I would turn around, look around, nothing. Okay. I did that for like 15 minutes. After 15 minutes, I said, I'm freaking going crazy. This UFO junk has got me almost in a nut house. I need to stop this cold turkey, And all of a sudden, when I thought that, boom, on top of my neighbor's house, there was a huge, gigantic craft, literally 5 feet from the roof.
Wow.
Okay, and let me describe it to you because it wasn't material. What city do you live in?
I live in Columbia, South Carolina, and but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
I seen an energy craft myself. I'll tell you about that later.
Okay,
but go ahead.
All right. So you could picture the Gamecock Stadium,
Yeah.
With Spurrier coaching, right? Except you had the whole stadium on top of my neighbor's house, and what it looked like was basically thousands and thousands and thousands of oblong streaks of white light. It went back about 2 blocks. In height, it was like 200 feet in height. Now, if you put all these white streaks of light, one on top of another, it formed like the whole shell of the craft, just to give you an idea. And inside the craft was all this plasma energy streaks, all white colors, okay? Silent, no noise whatsoever. And so you could tell the whole figure of the craft, the whole outside of the craft, and the inside of the craft with these energy streaks. And then it was translucent, so I could see the clouds behind it, but barely, because there were a lot of white streaks that were forming the whole shell of it, the whole perimeter of it. And then all of a sudden, I heard my daughter's voice. Now, mind you, my daughter never told me this, but this is what popped into my head. Daddy, you and Mommy have seen UFOs. Next time you guys see a UFO, you call me, all right? Because I want to see one. Don't forget, Daddy, don't forget. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, if you are a logical person, like I used to be, okay, a rational person, the last thing you would do is to succumb to your daughter, who had just turned 10 years old, to come outside to see this huge, gigantic craft the size of a football stadium when you have never been exposed to anything like this. You have no idea what the hell's going to happen,
Yeah.
But no, that didn't even pop into my head, okay? All I knew is that I got this message from my daughter telling me that she wanted to see a UFO next time I saw one, my wife saw one, and I needed to go tell her, right? So then I go to my window, because remember, we're in a little cul-de-sac, and I'm in the middle of the cul-de-sac watching this thing now, So I'm calling my daughter, and I'm calling out her name. She always open up the window. What is it, Daddy? I said, sweetheart, come outside. There's a UFO out here. Hurry up, run. So she shooms out, and she's right there with me outside. So now you have 2 people watching this huge, gigantic craft. Okay? Daddy, what is that? I said, sweetheart, it's a UFO, but it's in hiding. It doesn't want to be caught because we have a lot of jets, a lot of radars, and, it might not want to be seen. Okay? So that's why it doesn't show itself completely. Oh, thanks, Daddy. I didn't know that, Mm-hmm. So we were watching this thing, and we weren't scared. It was like we're watching the 4th of July, okay? Then about 10 minutes later, my friend comes, but he doesn't come alone. He comes with his wife, okay? At that time, he was 48 years old. That was 2 years ago. And his wife was 50 years old. And they had their 17-year-old daughter. So all of a sudden, he leaves his car parked right in the middle of the cul-de-sac, and they all run out to me. And they asked me, Ray, what is that? What is that? And I said, you know damn well what it is. No, it can't. No, it can't be. It can't be. And both of them are college graduates, okay? He's from Mexico, a hardcore Catholic. She's from Colombia, also a hardcore Catholic. They participate in various church ministries, okay? And the daughter is like a regular teenager. She was born here and, she's a regular teenager. And so my daughter and her then stayed together. And then the 3 of us, the 3 adults, were then together in a small group. And then they began coming up with possible explanations of what it was. Okay, lightning. And I was like, you got to be kidding, lightning, Lightning comes down. This thing is all, horizontal. There's like thousands and thousands of these oblong light streaks, like 2 miles back. And, okay, give me another one. Oh, it's the headlights from the street behind us. It's bouncing off the clouds And because the cars are moving, it's appearing like it's going in these circles. Like, yeah, we got like, a million cars behind us, bumping off the headlights. So like for about 5 minutes, they were coming up with all these crazy explanations, and which is logical. I mean, you see something like this, you have no idea that you're watching a UFO craft. I wasn't about to tell them that I called it down, because then that would have really freaked them out. And so after like 5 minutes, I started to laugh because it was getting hilarious. The last thing they needed to say was swamp gas.
Yeah.
So I started to laugh, and in my head, I was like telling these ETs up there, I said, "You better come up with some better stuff, because this light stuff that you're showing, that ain't working." And I was laughing, I was joking. Like all of a sudden, the light patterns completely changed. Instead of these oblong, oval streaks of light, thousands and thousands of them, they were immediately replaced by thousands and thousands of stars that were 10 times the size of Venus, that were blinking on and off like 2 or 3 times a second. Okay? And it was throughout the whole entire part of the craft. Then, beyond a shadow of a doubt, everyone knew what it was. Okay? Everyone knew what it was. And they stopped, with their ridiculous, well, I shouldn't say ridiculous. They stopped with their explanations. Okay? And then it was a matter of they were pointing to the different sections of the craft, because the stars would tend to congregate in certain areas. For example, there would be stars all over the place, but in one area, it'd be like double or triple the amount of stars. And it would be moving around like in different sections, different quadrants all over the place. So especially his wife, she was like, "Oh, look at over there. And now look at over there. Oh my God, look at over there." That sort of thing. And again, the environment was like you're watching a 4th of July. All I needed was a lounge chair, nice pack of cold Coronas with some sausage links, and that's it, man. Watch the show. that was the environment. Then during this whole episode, my friends were there maybe like 15 minutes. Okay, and then they left. But during that time period, the neighbor whose house was underneath that UFO. Now remember, the bottom of the UFO, he has 2 palm trees in the front that were blocking the bottom of that craft. Okay? They have these queen palms, which are these very tall palms. So that was blocking the very bottom portion of the craft. That's how close it was to the roof. Okay? And I could have gotten a rock and I could have hit it. It was like less than 30 feet away from us. So anyway, the neighbor and his wife blinked the light in their living room. And we see them, and they're looking at us. Like, basically, what are these 5 people looking on top of our roof all the way up in the sky? And the natural thing to do, the logical thing to do, would be to approach the door and knock on his door and say, "Get the hell out. Look what's on top of your roof." But no, it didn't even come into my head. Also, the natural and the logical thing to do, all of us had cell phones. Okay? Take out a cell phone, especially the 17-year-old. These teenagers are like born, they have a strap. The cell phone is strapped to their hand. They always got that stuff on, right? No one bothered to take out a cell phone to take a picture of this thing. Okay, so after 15 minutes, both of my friends said, "We got to go." Okay, which is not logical. You're seeing a once in a lifetime experience, and all of a sudden you got to go. You got things to do. And from my end, I didn't even question them leaving. I didn't say, "What are you, freaking crazy?" This is a once in a lifetime experience. If we take a picture of this, we'll be on the cover of Time magazine for a whole 5 years. So I didn't even go to them like that. Like, "Why are you leaving?" No, it's like, "Okay, bye. I'll see you tomorrow." Okay. These are examples of the mind control. Okay. And then I'll show you later on how we were controlled as well.
Okay.
So after they left, then my daughter and I stayed watching this thing for like another 10 minutes. Altogether, I would estimate at least 45 minutes. My daughter and I were watching this thing from the beginning to the very end. So all of a sudden, 10 or 15 minutes after they left, all of a sudden I felt like I was being attacked by mosquitoes. And I was wearing shorts, and I was slapping my legs. Then I was getting irritated. The bites were getting harder and harder. And I told my daughter, "Come on, let's get out of here. These mosquitoes are killing me." Meanwhile, what the hell is still on top of my neighbor's house? That huge craft. And all of a sudden, I got to go now without even thinking. Like, what are you, crazy? Now I could have a herd of elephants. I could be in Pamplona, Spain, where they got the running of the bulls, and I wouldn't leave, because I know what I'm watching, But no, back then it was these little mosquitoes were eating me up, and I had to go, So we go inside the house, and like 5 minutes later, my daughter goes to me, Daddy, there were no mosquitoes outside. And it was just like when I was in my bed and the hypnotist snapped his finger and I woke up. It was exactly like that. All of a sudden, I woke up and I came to reality. And I said, "Holy cow! What the hell just happened?" So I ran and I grabbed my phone, my camera. I grabbed my camcorder. I ran outside. Poof! Nothing. Completely gone. Okay. And that's when I realized. Now I know why I acted that way downstairs when I saw that energy being. And I went, bullshit, Now I know that it controlled my mind when it put me in, to sleep for 15 minutes. Now I know that it controlled my mind with those mosquitoes because those mosquitoes were not there. Now I know that it controlled my mind in terms of hearing my daughter's voice, in terms of telling my friend to go, in terms of telling us don't knock on your neighbor's door, in terms of don't take a cell phone out to take a picture. And that's what a lot of non-experienced don't realize. Just how should I say, how advanced these ETs are, that they're able to get into each one of your minds and control half of your consciousness. Part of your consciousness is like you think you're having a normal discussion like you and I are doing right now, right?
Right.
But you can't cross that line that they drew. That line of taking a picture, knocking on your neighbor's door, realizing what really is going on, and that's something a lot of people don't realize. A lot of experiencers do because they've had this type of experience.
Yeah.
So,
well, I was just gonna say when I had my experience, it was kind of the similarities are kind of just crazy as far as it being close enough to hit it with a rock. It was mothership size, but it was all. It looked like energy. It was just beams. They were. There was about 4 of them. They looked cigar shaped. They were glowing orange and had white light coming out of the back. Real brilliant, but it was humongous and it was moving real slow across the sky and no sound whatsoever. And my wife too, I banged on the wall outside. You got to come out and see this. You got to come out. And she got out to see it, and we both seen it together. And I'm glad.
Good, because if not, you would have questioned your sanity.
Yeah, but the whole time I would not go inside to get the camera because I was afraid that the moment I did it would be gone. Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, if I would have been able to take a video of what was going on, I tell you, it would be on the front page of UFO Researcher, every UFO magazine. This place would be crawling with like 1 million investigators, military people, what you have. I mean, that's how huge this thing was.
Well, let me ask you this really quick because it's come up already in one of our chat rooms. But did you at any time feel like it was a holographic image, or did you feel like this was real? Like,
Oh, it was real as hell.
Yeah, okay.
It was real as hell. It's like, you're looking at your TV set, your computer set right now. It was very, very real.
Oh,
But again, I've never seen a huge hologram like that. I've seen the Star Wars with Princess Leia, that type of stuff,
Yeah.
I mean, it's difficult to compare it to something you've never been exposed to,
That's true. That's true.
But definitely the thing inside the house, nobody, we have medical locks throughout our door, So someone didn't come into our house, all of a sudden broke into our house, put a holographic contraption in our living room, and then ran away and then grabbed this device back, That thing inside our living room was certainly not a hologram. That was a real thing.
Right. Well, me personally, I don't kind of fall for the whole hologram thing. While I'm sure they could do amazing things, I mean, I've had people come to me and tell me that the universe and everything we see up in the sky is a hologram, and I don't believe that for a minute. But if they could prove it to me, I'll be glad to, put some weight in.
Well, Free has 5 physicists in our organization, and they could certainly try to prove it to you that we live in a holographic universe, a multiverse. But really? That's a horse of a different color for us to discuss down the road.
Okay.
So should I continue a little bit?
Yes, please do.
Keeps on going on and on. Okay.
Yeah.
After that night, okay, I went and I saw a video on near-death experiences. Don't tell me why, because these things have no rational explanation to them. Okay. But what I did was all of a sudden I ordered like 40 or 50 books from Amazon. It was about, I think it was 30 books on near-death experiences. and 10 books on the science of consciousness studies. Okay, the stuff that Edgar Mitchell had been working on for many, many years with the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And so, and I even ordered like the 2-day special where they mail it quick, because I needed it right away. Then began this crazy journey. And again, don't tell me why. Now I know why, but back then I didn't know why I was doing this. Over a 4-month period, I began reading primarily books on near-death experiences, but another 25% were books on the science of consciousness studies. Nothing else. I didn't read nothing else. I didn't go to the internet. I didn't care about the internet. I didn't watch TV. I had no social life. Okay. For 4 months, my wife thought I was crazy. Okay. It was 12 to 18 hours a day just reading these books. In that 4-month period, I must have read at least 500 books during that time period. It was all books on near-death experiences and the science of consciousness studies, which also involved quantum physics. Okay, and this is coming from a guy that I could write a 50-page paper the night before and get an A+ on it, but when it came to factoring a polynomial equation, I was like, what the hell is that? Basic algebra stuff. Okay, so here I was reading all these advanced quantum physics books and heavy-duty, consciousness studies, the physics and the science of consciousness studies, and then all these books on NDEs. Okay, I did that for about 4 months straight until this magical date, Friday, December the 21st, 2012. That's when everything started. Let me ask you a question, Michael.
Okay.
What are the statistical probabilities of this occurring? Okay. You go all your life without talking to anyone else about near-death experiences. Okay. Then all of a sudden, the very first 3 people you ever talk to and mention near-death experiences to. Now, this is 3 days in a row, on a Friday, a Saturday, and a Sunday. With all 3 of them, you hit the lottery because all 3 of them told you about their own personal extensive near-death experiences.
In my field of things, it's pretty common, but for the most part, no. It's a fat chance usually that people will talk to you about those things.
Okay, now here's the qualifier that I stated before. Okay, these are the very first 3 people you ever talked to in your life. That's the first qualifier. The next thing is 3 days in a row, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, which makes it even less of a probability of it occurring. Mm-hmm. Almost like, 1 billion to 1 almost. Okay? That's what happened to me. Okay? The very first person I asked was my daughter's pediatrician. This was on a Friday, December 21st, 2012. And let me sort of explain it to you in a way that might seem like I'm schizophrenic, but this is how it occurred, Okay. All of a sudden, I had like 2 personalities in my head. Okay. I'm standing with my daughter. My daughter's had a fever now for 2 days straight. I don't even know who this woman is because my wife is the one that always brought her to the pediatrician. And it's been like 3 years since I brought her to the doctor, So, we greet each other. I didn't know who she was. My daughter.
Oh, are you there? Did we lose you? Uh-oh. Yeah, we lost him, folks. So I think, it's him. I'm trying to get it back now, folks. So hang on with us. We got a break coming up anyhow. So why don't I do that? I'll take the break and we'll reconnect with our guest. This is Late Night in the Midlands. I'm Michael Vera. Don't go anywhere, folks, and we'll take calls a little later in the show. Again, we'll get our guest back on here when we get back.
You have found the best place on the internet by tuning into K98Talk.com. where it is our mission to broadcast the very best variety programming, giving you a balance of information from every angle and letting you decide. We are here to serve our listening audience with a proven track record. So stay with K98Talk.com and the Spark Radio Network, and we will keep you informed.
Hello, this is Lisa Marie, here to tell you about OxySilver, legally available only through CureShop.com and HealthyWorldStore.com. Read Dr. Horowitz's book, Healing Celebrations, to learn how miracle healings can be made to happen through faith, prayer, and a pure diet. Get great immunity using vitamin C, D, and OxySilver, Liquid Dentist, GI Flora Pro, a top-shelf probiotic. Use 528 Superfood as a great tasting meal substitute for energizing organic nutrients and losing weight, and Zeolove and natural clays for detoxifying your body. OxySilver oxygenates and resonates with 528 for faster healing. So help save lives, putting drug lords and criminals out of business, and keep the LNM network broadcasting. Register for our free cooperative at healthyworldaffiliates.com/4948 and buy OxySilver and other great products in package specials at great discounts from theCureShop.com. Buy OxySilver, GI Flora Pro, 528 Superfood, Zeolove, and Love Minerals at great discounts at CureShop.com. That's CureShop.com with 2 P's. Cure Shop. Or call toll free at 1-888-621-7611. That's 1-888-621-7611. Do it now.
It's the middle of the night and there's nothing much to do. Bring your insomniac self over to Late Night in the Midlands and learn something. We've got every topic you can think of with very little being off limits. Alien abductions, government corruptions, the stuff that's got your sleep disrupted. Come join the conversation tales and tune into Late Night in the Midlands with your host, Michael Vera.
In many cases is the idea that the aliens are essentially trying to create a hybrid mix of themselves and ourselves. They're interested in our
smaller
DNA,
than
our genetic
human
makeup,
bodies.
and beyond that, they're interested in
the heads were larger and the eyes were rather sunken and a little slanted.
Range of
and what happened was they came to me.
They were not of this earth.
We have to face up to reality that, for example, the UFO phenomenon is a real phenomenon, no question about it. So anybody who debunks the UFO phenomenon itself don't know what he or she's talking about.
Hey, Michael, I promised you I'd call in for a little bit, and here I am.
I know that I bashed Bush the entire time. I wasn't even allowed on Coast to Coast there for a while because I was told not to talk about Bush.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Late Night in the Midlands. We cover everything.
I made love to an alien near Roswell last night. We strolled along together in the pale moonlight. I had a funny feeling that something wasn't right. I made love to an alien last night. When she gripped my hand, I was feeling mighty fine, but her fingers with mine would not intertwine. Rubbed down and gazed into her eyes. They were big as donuts and blacker than the sky. She said, I'm feeling lonely. I said, Lord, so am I. We'll stroll along together, but we won't question why. That ground beneath your feet is flashing red and white, and sprouting little mushrooms left and right. Then she threw me down and put me on my back. to tell the truth, I thought I'd seen my last. But she settled down and snuggled in my arms, and I made love to that maid from the stars.
Late night in the Midlands, and we had lost our guest, but we've got him back now. And hey, it was just in time. We were really up for a break, so
good timing.
Yeah, absolutely good timing. But welcome back, Ray, and you could pick up where you had left off. We got so abruptly interrupted there.
Okay, no problem. Well, what happened after that was that.
Uh-oh. Do we lose you again?
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so these three people, 3 in a row, then began to tell me about their extensive near-death experiences. And then to me, that wasn't a coincidence because, as I said before, the statistics of this occurring, the probabilities of this occurring was, 1 in a billion, a super large number, whatever that number might be. Especially after, I was guided to read all these books for 4 months straight. So to me, it wasn't a coincidence that this was taking place. Then roughly after that, I began having, hello, Michael, you still there?
Yes, sir. I'm still here. They haven't got us yet.
Thank you. Then after that, I began having these experiences where I was able to identify people that have had either UFO contact, have seen UFOs, or people that have had NDEs. And it's very difficult to describe. It's just like you get this, like the sixth sense that this person has had one of these. And I flushed out lots of people. The last one was 2 weeks ago with the person I was changing the lock on my door. Like I knew, he either had one or the other. Mm-hmm. And it turned out that I was correct. And so let me jump forward now another 5 months. We're now in May of 2013. In May of 2013, I was driving on the highway going to work in the morning. At that point, I had a telegram that entered my head. It was like this voice, almost like telling me a telegram. And at that point, I also saw a video at the same time. The video was that I was inside a gigantic wheel. And in the different spokes of the wheel had all different types of paranormal phenomena. And I saw spinning around near-death experiences, remote viewing, out-of-body travel, mystical meditation, lucid dreaming, all the different paranormal types of phenomenon, and also different mechanisms, different modalities where individuals have had contact with non-human intelligent beings. They were all floating all around. It was holding them everything together was quantum physics. And then the voice was telling me that I need to undertake a project to tell the world of the relationship between ETs, the spirit world, and quantum physics. And it said that I'm going to need a lot of help. And there's 2 criteria for the help. One is that it has to be minimal to no ego. And secondly, that this cannot be done for money. Okay. Right. And so I was like, I immediately called the only person I had been in contact with. Her name is Christina Knowles. And I had been in contact with her for 2 months. And she had called me because about 7 months before, I had sent an email to like 7 big names in the field. I had sent it to like to Whitley Strieber, Grant Cameron, Mary Rodwell, famous names like that, trying to find out what the hell was going on, someone to talk to, to learn about what's going on. And so I had sent an email to Joe Montaldo. He had was doing research with experiencers, mainly abduction research. And so she was like a researcher for him, and I've been in contact with her for about 2 months. So then she said, don't freak out. It does happen to a lot of experiencers. If I need to, pull on the side of the road. And I told her I couldn't even do that because I'm in the middle of a traffic jam, And then, we decided that we'll talk later on. And then that night when I got home, it was in the afternoon, late afternoon, I got an email from Mary Rodwell. And she lives in Australia. And she probably is the world's leading researcher on individuals that have had ET contact. She's not as well known here as she is in Europe, because she mainly does all of her tours and speaking engagements in Europe. And she's sort of like the combination of like Linda Moulton Howe, Whitley Strieber and Richard, what's his name, Dolan?
Oh yeah, Richard Dolan.
Richard Dolan. She's like the combination of all three together. That's how well known she is in Europe.
Yeah.
So anyway, she sends me an email. She says, "Dear Ray, I'm so sorry I'm responding to this email, 7 months late. But it just popped on my computer screen." And then she was making reference about my daughter and I and these three friends watching that huge craft. That in all of her cases, she's never had a case where someone has been so close to such a huge craft for such a long time, and that she wanted to chat with me. So then I responded back. I said, "Well, you ain't seen nothing yet. This is all the near-death experience stuff that happened to me. And then today, this download with this video in my head,
Mm-hmm.
And so we got on the call. And then during the call, I asked her, I said, "Mary, how often do you go back for your emails? Do you go back, 7 months to your emails? How do you explain what happened?" And she says, "Ray, I can barely keep up with one day's email. How in the world am I going to go back 6 or 7 months?" And I said, "Well, how do you explain what happened?" And she started laughing. She says, "Ray, by now, with all of your crazy experiences, you ought to know what happened."
Yeah.
And so she then went on and she told me about Dr. Rudy Shields, who's a good friend of hers. She met her when she came and gave a lecture at the John Mack Institute about 3 years earlier, after John Mack had passed away, I believe. And Rudy was actually a mentor to Dr. Mack that was teaching him how quantum physics can explain all the crazy stuff that happens to experiencers, how ETs can, come through the walls, how can they go through glass, how a craft can be 20 miles away and all of a sudden be 20 miles in the opposite direction instantaneously. He says that quantum physics explains all of that. And so she said that I'm going to, email Rudy what happened to you and see if he might be interested. So we left it that we'll continue our discussions. So the very next morning at 9:30 in the morning, I get a telephone call from a 74-year-old emeritus professor of astrophysics at Harvard, Dr. Rudy Shield. And so I didn't even know who he was. I'd totally forgotten about the conversation with Mary. So then he identified himself. And at that point, he proceeded to give me like a 90-minute lecture on quantum physics and how quantum physics can explain the paranormal. And at the end of it, and how his relationship with Dr. Mack and the details of their relationship. And that's how he got interested in this phenomenon. So at the end of it all, he says, "Ray, these ETs, they gave you a mission, didn't they?" And I said, "Well, they told me what I needed to do, but I still don't know what the hell I need to do, He says, "Well, you need to listen to them, okay?" I said, "Well, Rudy, I have no idea what I'm doing, He says, "Look, you'll figure it out. And once you figure it out, I will be here to back you up. If you form an organization, I will be your scientific advisor or a member of your board of advisor, whatever you want to handle it." And then he says, "And by the way, my mentor," that was Dr. Rudy Shields' mentor, "is Dr. Edgar Mitchell. Okay. And he's the one that's taught me everything I know about this field."
I've been trying to get him on this show for a long time, and he's always so busy.
Well, Edgar is my buddy, and I'm going to be at his house on Monday, and I'll tell him.
Well,
I'm going to be at his house 10 o'clock Monday morning.
Well, thank you. I do.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I've been to his house many times, but I'm sort of jumping the gun here. So then Rudy says, "This is Edgar's telephone number. Give him a call. I'm going to send him an email and let him know that you're going to be calling him." Okay. Now, I already knew who Edgar was because I had been reading all those books on the science and physics of consciousness studies. And what I learned was Edgar is basically the dean, the godfather of the physics of consciousness, of the science of consciousness. And, very scholarly man. He's just not, the father of modern disclosure study. He's not just the sixth man on the moon. He's much, much more than that, much, much more profound. So anyway, I managed to work up the courage to give him a call hours later. I don't know exactly how many hours later, but it was quite a bit of time. So finally I gave him a call, and Edgar basically knew all about me because Rudy had not only emailed him, but had a very lengthy conversation about him. So then Edgar invited me to his house. And then at his house, Edgar, oh my goodness, it's like he just went on and on and on and on. And mind you, I didn't even know this fellow, okay? I was just in awe of this man, And he was telling me how he grew up in Roswell, how his family had two farming stores. I believe it was one on the north side and one on the south side of Roswell, and how he and his parents knew all of the families in the valley because it didn't have a large population, and almost everybody had to go through one of the two stores. How he learned how to fly in the local airport. Instead of being paid by cash, he was being paid by flight lessons. And how he had gotten a scholarship to Carnegie Mellon. And either he joined the Navy while he was there or immediately afterwards. I don't remember the details, but I think he had shown me pictures that he was brought into this area after he became a pilot to test the new jets. I think it was with Chuck Yeager's group. And he would show me pictures that he had on his wall. And he says, this is, whatever, the P-50 something, whatever the name of that jet that they were working on. And this is this other jet, of him when he was very young. And then he told me that that NASA, I believe it was NASA, had just formed, and that they were hiring new pilots, people to join to become astronauts. And he said that almost all of the pilots there applied, and that a select few from that group were admitted because they were sort of like the cream of the crop. And then how NASA told Edgar that, look, you will get a PhD, and you will go to MIT. And he says that one of the reasons, besides getting a PhD in aeronautical engineering and aeronautical physics, was he was going to be the liaison between the engineers at MIT and the contractors that were building the lunar module and NASA. So he was like an intermediary. So he said that he knew more about the lunar module than almost anybody else. And then he told me when the Apollo 13 had all those problems, that he was brought in as the major troubleshooter. And he said in that movie with Tom Hanks that he was actually 3 people in that movie. And he even showed me on the wall, he had the Presidential Medal of Honor that was signed by Richard Nixon because he had a major role in saving the lives of the crew members. And Edgar went on and on and on. Then he told me when he came back he told me what happened when he was in flight, that experience that he had, a somatic experience, where sort of like in the ancient Vedic text that he was exposed to the true nature of our reality. And that's where he became interested in the physics of consciousness, and in also the metaphysics of ancient text, to try to research what happened to him. And he was telling me, all those details of that whole process. And then how he came back from the moon, he was a national hero, and that he went back to Roswell, that all of these old timers were like coming out of the woodworks, saying, Edgar, I need to talk to you. Well, I got time. Tell me what happened. What do you want? What's your question? No, in private. And then they would be like going to their house or where Edgar was staying, and they would be telling him all these intimate stories about what really happened in Roswell. And that's what Edgar told me, is that when he truly realized that this stuff was real, And then later on, he told me about some other astronauts, some other details, which I won't go into, But it was like the whole day I was being blown away. I didn't even know this man, and all of a sudden he just opened his house and his heart out.
That's fascinating. Oh, what did he say about the moon? Did he have any special stories he might have had about the moon? And I don't know, did he see anything?
I didn't ask him that. I didn't ask him that. I was just, overwhelmed. Right. I didn't do a lot of questioning. But I will be meeting him on again on Monday. We're going to be video taping him for a couple of sessions for various projects. But anyway, after all of this, at the very end, Edgar goes to me, Ray, these ETs, they gave you, a mandate, And I said, well, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing. And then he said, well, Rudy and I, discussed it. And he says that we're here to back you up with whatever you need. You let us know when the time is right. We'll be on your board of advisors. If you do go in that direction, we'll be here to back you up. And so he said, he said even he can even get the folks from Quantrack, which is a whole group of theoretical physicists, to assist us with what we're doing in free. And he says he knows them all personally because he organized it. And so basically I came out of these last 2 days that Rudy and Edgar were encouraging me to form an organization, even though I had no idea what we're going to be doing. And once I formed it, that they will be there formally as a board of advisor, the first board of advisors, to guide me and to assist me and to back me up. So when I got home from Edgar's house, I sent an email to Mary and to Christina, and Mary is 12 to 14 hours ahead of us. And so at that time it was early morning for her. And so we got on Skype, the three of us, and I said, you won't freaking believe what happened over the last 2 days. And then I told them all of this information, and they were like, holy cow, Ray, it's like you're being guided to do this thing. It's like everything is being put right in front of you. It's like you can't make it any easier. And I said, well, it appears that way, but I have no freaking idea what the hell we're going to do. And secondly, we have no organization. I said, with the Edgar and Rudy, they're extremely busy. They're not going to be dealing with the day-to-day activities of whatever we do. They're going to be there to back us up, like advisors. But the three of us are the ones that need to be, the directors, the people who are going to be doing the day-to-day activities. I says, let's form this organization, and the three of us will be, the directors. And Edgar and Rudy can come in with with us three as the co-founders. So we'll have 5 co-founders. And then they said, great, where do we sign up? And then 2 days later, Mary Rodwell from Australia said, I got a name for it, FREE, the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters. And then we shot that email to Edgar and Rudy, and they said, fantastic, let's move forward. And then about 2 weeks later, I went and sort of like, again, it's difficult to describe, sort of like the best way for me to describe it is like a lucid dreaming, where you're like half awake and half in a trance.
Yeah.
And then I stood like maybe 4 or 5 hours in front of the computer, and I typed out the whole strategic plan of what we'd be doing for free. And that was 1.5 years ago, and we're doing exactly that same plan to the T, to the letter. And I sent it off to Edgar and Rudy. They approved it. Christina and Mary, we discussed it, and we went forward. And since then, Free now has a who's who in this field. We have Kathleen Martin. We have Denise Stoner, who I told you wrote that book, one of the first statistical studies on experiencers. We have Barbara Lamb. We have Whitley Strieber. We have the world's leading academic on the paranormal, Dr. John Klimo. We have Dr. Leo Sprinkle. We have Ralph Steiner, who's been was one of the 4 people that initiated the Disclosure Project with Stephen Greer. It was Stephen Greer, Dr. Edgar Mitchell, Ralph Steiner, and Leslie Kane. Okay, so Ralph has been doing this for many, many years, and he's also a theoretical physicist. One of these child prodigies at the age of 8 was doing calculus and advanced physics in his head for fun, Oh
my God.
And we also, altogether, we have 5 physicists in Free. We have 6 PhD psychologists. We have 5 academics or 5 retired academics. We have 5 medical doctors, but 3 of them are still hiding in the closet because they're still practicing physicians. We literally have a who's who in this field of ET contact. So that's how Free got started. And the projects that we're doing for free are quite unique. I don't know if you want me to go into that now or if you want to take a break or.
Well, we have a break coming up. Yeah, why don't we? Why don't we get the break out of the way, and then let's come back and talk about this. And I want to hear all about it. You've sent me a lot of great information too, by the way, and I've been looking it over, some of the statistics and different things that you guys have done with this foundation. So
have you ever seen anything close to what we're doing?
No, I got to say I haven't. Absolutely not. All right, so hang on for a moment, folks. This is Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network, on the Dark Matter Radio Network, on K98 Talk, and, of course, on High Point Radio. They cover New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania. This is a good one tonight, folks. I'm enjoying it. We'll be back in just a few moments. Don't go anywhere.
Radio has joined with the Hardened Structures team to provide state-of-the-art survival shelter design and build services at LNM Radio exclusive rates. Hardened Structures, with over 21 years experience in military, commercial, and private shelter design build services, are also offering LNM Radio listeners a free consultation, normally a $500 value. So click on the Hardened Structures banner on the home page or the chat and listen page and have peace of mind that no matter what happens, your family is protected.
The LNM Radio Network and Late Night in the Midlands depends on you, the listener. Without you, there would be no us. So help us continue to bring you the best guests with the best information, and subscribe today. Information on becoming an LNM subscriber can be found at the top of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Just click the About Subscriptions tab and become part of the family while helping the truth stay alive. And while you're at it, maybe subscriptions aren't for you. A one-time donation helps as well. Click that donate button on the right side of LateNightInTheMidlands.com and help us help you. You want the truth? Late Night in the Midlands knows you deserve it. That's why we make it easy for you to listen at www.LateNightInTheMidlands.com. Go on over, become a member, be informed, and by all means, inform others. Folks, we're not your average radio show. We cover everything. Late Night in the Midlands on the LNM Radio Network. LNM is always looking for sponsors, so if you are interested in sponsorship or advertisement, on air or on our website, contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com. If you're interested in rebroadcasting or picking up the live feed for Late Night in the Midlands, then contact us at mv@latenightinthemidlands.com and help us help you.
You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Gentlemen, children, aliens, wherever you are, wherever you may be, we are
back. This is Late Night in the Midlands. My guest is Ray Hernandez, and we are talking about the Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, a foundation that has been started by you, I believe, right, Ray? You're the one.
It actually was started by Edgar Mitchell, Dr. Rudy Shields from Harvard, Mary Rodwell, myself, and Christina Knowles. So we've got 5 founders because Edgar Mitchell has been working with us from day one, and also Rudy. I talk to Rudy at least every 2 weeks. We're on the phone. So these are the active founders and active participants.
All right, great. Well, you've got a hell of a team.
Oh, yeah. What I wanted to do is maybe just highlight a little bit of our advisory board members.
Sure.
We mentioned Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and everyone knows about him. The other one is Dr. Rudy Shields, who I mentioned is a 74-year-old emeritus professor of astrophysics. He's also still working as an astronomer at the Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, and he's pretty much the world's leading expert on black holes. The other member is Dr. Leo Sprinkle, and many of your members know who Leo is. He's still alive and kicking. He's 85 years old, and he was the first academic to actually publish an article about experiencers. And I believe he told me was that it was he began research in his field in 1961 and wrote up his first article in 1962. The other person is Dr. John Klimo. He's been a full professor of psychology at both Rutgers College and at the American Schools of Professional Psychology. He has chaired over 250 PhD dissertations. And that's a hell of a lot, okay? And he's taught research methodology for 40 years, and he's just recently retired. And John is the chair of our research study, and I'll go a little bit more of that into details. Whitley Strieber is here as an advisor more than anything, and he's been participating in several of our research committee meetings. Barbara Lamb, many people know, has been working with experiencers for over 40 years, and she's based out of LA. Ralph Steiner, I told a little bit about it. He was one of the first, he was one of the 4 people to organize the Disclosure Project, along with Stephen Greer, Leslie Kane, and Dr. Mitchell. And Ralph is also a scientist, a physicist, and has been working to study the science behind the paranormal for the last 30 years. We have Kathleen Martin. Kathleen is one of the top, UFO researchers in the field. She doesn't need any introduction, but she's written 3 books with Stan Friedman, and I guess her most famous book is the one on Betty and Barney Hill. And Betty Hill was her aunt. Is an abduction case. Mm-hmm. And then Denise Stoner is the co-author with Kathleen of the book entitled Alien Abduction Files. And Denise is a lifetime experiencer. She's in her mid-60s and has been working with experiencers, providing them counseling and support for over 25 years. Another person is Dr. Joe Lewis. He's been working with experiencers for over 30 years. He was on the lecture circuit for close to 15 years, from the late 80s, I believe it was. And he's written several books on experiencers. Giles Campbell is a research geneticist out of Australia, and he's the real deal. He's a research scientist. And Dennis Briefer used to be the chairman of the board of the John Mack Institute, and he's also an experiencer. Dr. Joseph Brooks is a retired board-certified internal medicine physician, and he was one of the early pioneers with Dr. Stephen Greer of the SETI initiative, and he broke off with Dr. Greer, I believe, it was in 1998. But he's been working with the CE5 protocols all over the world, training people how to do that. Alex Sakiris is a host of a radio show called Skeptico, which is a show that focuses on consciousness studies, parapsychology, and near-death experience. He's had numerous PhDs, doctors, academics that he's interviewed throughout the years on this topic. Giorgio Piacenza is another one of our geniuses. He dabbles in quantum physics, consciousness studies. He's one of the top ufologists in Latin America. He lives in Peru, and he attended the International UFO Conference with me. He came from Peru, and he's very well known in Latin America, one of the top researchers in Latin America. Another person is Reverend Michael Carter, who's a real reverend. He has his own congregation.
I know of him too. I've had him on the show a couple times. Great guy.
Yeah, excellent. He's a wonderful man. Wonderful man. So no need there. We have Cynthia Crawford, who is an intuitive. She's based out of Arizona. She's an experiencer, and she's known for her sculptures of ETs. We have Dr. Jude Curvin, who has a master's in physics from Cambridge, and also has a PhD from Reading. And she's the real deal. She's a member of our free physics group, and also a lifetime experiencer. And she's been working on a unified theory of physics as well. She really is an internationally renowned scholar on consciousness. Dr. Michael Melton, a PhD psychologist, a member of Starborn Support, and he's been working with experiencers providing support for, I believe, close to 8 years. Chase Klutsky, who is very well known in the ufology field. I believe she's one of the pioneers of the STAR team manager with MUFON. She's very, very well known within MUFON and as a researcher. I could go on and on. Barry Barragont from Kentucky, known as the Kentucky Truth Seeker. He's also a STAR member with MUFON, but is not, I believe, associated with MUFON now. And he's been doing a lot of research with experiencers and in the field of the paranormal. Dr. Lynn Katai, medical doctor, also known for the Phoenix Lights.
Yeah, you guys are like a super team.
Yes, I could go on and on and on. Dr. Sasha Lessin, Janet Lessin, many, many other people. Audrey Hewins, who was the co-founder of Starborn Support. Now, half of these people are part of our research committee. And let me go a little bit into that. Okay. The research committee, the chair, as I said before, was this recently retired professor who has taught research methodology for over 40 years and chaired 250 PhD dissertations, Dr. John Klimo. He's pretty, if you're looking for the top scholar on the paranormal, that would be Dr. Klimo. And he's the chair of our study, and he developed the research methodology. Now, to back him up as the members of our committee, again, we've got an all-star cast. Now, these are people that are not just names. These are people for 18 months have rolled up their sleeves and have met almost on a monthly basis to go over all the questions and then the whole methodology for our study. And it's Dr. Leo Sprinkle, Mary Rodwell, Willie Strieber, Barbara Lamb, Ralph Steiner, Kathleen Martin, Denise Stoner, Giorgio Piacenza, Dr. Joe Lewis, Dr. Michael Melton, Chase Klutsky, and then Barry Gaunt just came to our last meeting. So, like for example, Barbara Lamb, here she is in her mid 80s. She comes in prepared. Ray, these 5 questions, they need to be revised. And I've got recommendations for each 5, okay? Leo Sprinkle, 85 years old. Ray, I sent you a whole list of 10 new questions that you need to ask, and these other 10 questions that need to be revised, So, people are actually doing work. It's not just a name. And we've been meeting for 18 months on this research study. And let me give you a little bit of background of what this study is, okay? This study pretty much is the first comprehensive academic statistical study on the experiencer phenomena, okay? That has these 3 components, okay? The first component is 100 questions that are quantitative in nature, like true and false. It only take you 15 to 20 minutes tops to do it. It's on our website. You go to our website, which is experiencer.co, not com. It's experiencer.co. And it's on our first page on the top left-hand side. It'll says, "Are you an experiencer? Please take our survey." So you click in there, and you go straight to the survey. And so it's about 100 questions. Phase 2 is now 600 questions. Okay, and it goes into your early childhood history. It goes into, paranormal phenomenon. It goes into, implants, the whole breeding program, the abduction phenomenon, all of that stuff, as well as all of the spiritual stuff, like NDEs. Have you had NDEs? What type of NDEs? What you experienced? Did you ever see ETs? Were they up front? Did you see them on the craft? Is it in a matrix type of reality? It goes into, the quote unquote metaphysical side of these experiences. So we go into all the way the extremes of the MyLab stuff and the abduction and the breeding, all the way into, the stuff that the Star Children would associate with. So it's the full gambit of it. And then again, these are all quantitative questions, yes or no type of questions. And then phase 3 are 50 open-ended questions. Okay, open-ended, that they ask you a general question. Okay. And then those questions are going to be administered by an interviewer. And right now we have 40 individuals that are the top of the line people in this field that are going to be doing the interviews. For example, the last 3 people that we got to commit to become interviewers, Grant Cameron. I think you've heard him before.
Yeah.
This is Colin Andrews. Okay, the crop circle researcher.
Right.
Mel Fabregas, who has his own radio show, Veritas. Okay, these are the last 3 people. So it's this high caliber of people are going to be doing interviews for us, together with all the members of our advisory board and many other researchers in this field. And again, most of the people who are going to be doing these interviews, they're all in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. This is not a pimple-faced teenager that's doing this, okay? It's being done very, in a sophisticated academic way. And then the interviews are going to be recorded. When you take these surveys, it's completely anonymous. You don't have to state your name, any information to associate who you are, okay? When you do these interviews, you're going to be known by a number. No one's going to know your name, your ID, where you live, anything like that. You'll be known as a number. And then the interviews are going to be recorded, and then we're going to be passing the audio version through this software that will type out, the audio interview. So then we'll have everything in writing, and that document would be put by a number and attached to your file. The files would be then transmitted into these external hard drives and then wiped out from the software program. So no one can go in there and try to hack our software, because it won't be there. It will be on an external drive that will not be connected to the internet. The only time it will be connected was when we do these downloads, to copy the files, and then poof, disconnected from the internet. Yeah. Okay. And once again, this is being driven by academics, by true scientists, and it's being done in a scientific, professional way. And it's the first time we'll be able to have tons of quantitative data. So we're able to do sophisticated studies, statistical studies, cross-tabulation studies on experiencers. For example, let me give you an idea how this might work out. Right now, what I sent you was a document that had a preliminary study on some of the questions that we have asked. And I'm not going to go through too many for your audience members, because in case there are any experiencers that are out there, I want them not to be, biased by this thing. Okay. Right. But for example, let me give you a couple of questions. We asked a question: besides seeing this non-human intelligent entity, have you interacted in any way with this or these entities? So in other words, have you had any type of, besides seeing them, any type of interaction with them? Okay. For the people that answered this question, which was 254 people, 78% said yes, they've interacted with this ET entity. Okay.
Wow.
Now, some other studies. This is based upon 507 people that took this survey as of 2 weeks ago. Okay. Right now, we're at almost 800.
And let me ask you this quick. Now, this is just assuming that now that every one of them are being completely honest, right?
Well, here's what we're going to be doing. Okay. You could only take this survey once because your IP is going to be locked.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, you're not going to be able to take this test twice, also because we're going to be videotaping like the first couple of minutes for the session, so we get to see what the person looks like, and then we'll be scanning it to see whether this person has been interviewed before. So it prohibits people from double dipping.
I see.
Okay. And then secondly, we've got mature, experienced people who have been in this field, minimum for 30 years doing interviews. Now, obviously, anyone could get hoodwinked. You go into a car lot and they sell these lemons all the time. Okay. So it's not like we're going to be preventing people from lying and misleading to us. But because we have experienced people that are going to be interviewing, it minimizes this whole process. And secondly, to go through all of this process from the very beginning to the end, it takes a lot of commitment from an experiencer to commit to this. Okay. This is not just a little prank that you do in 5 minutes. No, it's like, you're gonna do the phase 1 survey, you're gonna do the whole phase 2 survey, and you're gonna be on the phone with someone who's gonna be asking you tons of questions.
Yeah, so for somebody to actually come and do all that and still be lying, yeah, I see where the chance is minimal. I mean, you really have to be a real loser.
Yeah, exactly. You really got to be the the lowest scum in the earth to go that route. But that's the approach that we're taking. And but let me give you an example of how something like this can be taken off. Okay, we have assembled a small group of people who have been working on near-death experiences for many, many years. Okay, because one of the hypotheses that we have is that there is a relationship between people that have had ET contact and near-death experiences. All you need to do is be in a group of 100 experiencers, and you raise your hand, and many of them will raise your hand whether they've had near-death experiences. I was on a conference call once last summer. We had 7 people on the call. 6 of those 7 people had a near-death experience. The only one was myself that did not. And yet I had like these pseudo NDEs, with my own experiences. So basically everyone involved had something in common with a near-death experience. Okay. So most experiencers know that that relationship is there, but they haven't been able to study it formally in an academic sense. So this is what we're doing. We have, we're going to be getting, let's say, for example, 5 people who are like near-death experience experts that have been working in this field for quite a long time. And hopefully we've gotten a couple of them that are also experiencers. So we want to get them in a group and give them, let's say, for example, we found out that there are 100 people out of, let's say, probably it's going to be a lot more. But let's say by the end of the year when we do our cutoff, there might be 5,000 people, right? So there might be out of those 5,000 people, maybe 1,000 people that have had near-death experiences. Okay, what they'll be getting is the data of how they answered their questions for those 1,000 people. Okay, then they could do these cross-tabulation studies between the group that has had near-death experiences and the group that has not, and look at many of the questions that we've asked, especially questions of transformation, spiritual transformation, how you've changed. Okay, and also the types of interactions that they're having, the types of beings that are interacting with them. It might be, let's say, for example, mantid beings. 80% of the people who've had near-death experiences have had interaction with mantid beings. Okay, I just threw that out as an example, of some of the types of findings that we're going to be looking at.
Sure.
Okay, and so then they'll be getting the transcripts of the interviews and going through them, and to see what type of relationship are there among all the people that have had NDEs. And then compare the NDE group with the non-NDE group. Okay? So that's just one example. Another thing is the Bigfoot. Okay? We've gotten a lot of responses of people that are having Bigfoot encounters related to UFO contact, ET contact.
See, now I always thought there was a connection there, but some Bigfooters will tell me no way. But I think so.
Take a look at our data. Okay, that doesn't lie. We've gotten like 80 people.
Well, do tell.
Okay. So let's say, for example, the cutoff date that we're going to be having for this phase of our study is going to be the end of the year. So let's say December 31st, 2015, we have 5,000 people that responded to this survey. Okay. And both surveys and that have taken the interviews. Okay. And then out of those, let's say there's 700 people that have described encounters with Bigfoot. Okay. Then we would do the same thing. We would get people that are interested in studying Bigfoot. And again, I'm not talking Joe Schmo, off the streets or something like that. We want this to be people that are going to be taking this seriously academically, preferably to have one or two academics in the group, that sort of thing. And then to study, okay, what makes the Bigfoot group, what are the commonalities of this group? Okay, how are they the same? And then to get that group and compare them with the rest of the non-Bigfoot groups. It might be that the Bigfoot groups are the ones that they see the small ships, or they see the large ships, or they see the triangle ships, mainly. You know what I'm talking about, these relationships?
Oh, yeah. I love what you're doing here. It's just fantastic.
So, yeah, it's basically, it's pure science. We're pure science. Once you have pure data, then you're able to have pure science. And it's being done in a scientific way, led by academics, and being guided by the top researchers in the field. Okay, Leo has spoken to thousands of experiencers. Mary has worked with over 3,000 experiencers. On and on and on. All the people in our group. So, so that is our free experiencer research study, first of its kind, and the only type of study similar to this that's ever been undertaken.
Well, and it's good to see one like this that has so many experts in the field, and getting together and putting their minds together and doing it the way you're doing it. I mean, the statistics, the questions, the phases. I think that's all a great idea, and just I love it. I think it's great.
Well, we've been quiet for about a year and a half on all of this, Michael, because now is when we're starting to come out publicly. Because if you don't have all your ducks lined up, a website, very professional, the whole methodology up and running, you're going to be attacked left and right, and for example, we have been attacked. Like there's some people who, if I mention their names, you might know who they are. But people very similar to you that do radio interviews, they're saying, oh, we're doing a bogus study because we're doing it based off of hypnosis, hypnotic regressions.
Yeah.
Where did these people get that information from? If they would have given me a call, or if they would have looked at our research methodology, which we have on our website for everyone to look at, they will see that we specifically ask the participants, respond based upon your conscious recollection, not hypnotic regression. Okay? So, but yet they continue to pursue this to try to attack what we're doing, and very similar statements like that. So, we knew that we're going to be attacked, so that's why we took our time for the last 18 months and to do it scientifically and well thought out, which is what we have.
Yeah, and I think it's a shame when radio shows hosts, they bring on guests just to smear them or to try to make them look bad. I think that's not the way I do things, but
yeah. And now we're educating folks as to what we're doing. They know that the people we have on our board, these are very credible people, deeply respected in this field. And plus we have tons of academics, this is not pseudoscience. These are real scientists that are leading this and incorporated with free. Let me begin talking about some of our other projects, and they're just as important as this free experiencer research study.
Okay, great.
Once again, if you want to find out more information about free, our website is experiencer.co, and that's experiencer.co. And we've just recently purchased .org because we have applied for a 501c nonprofit status, and that's why we need the .org. And so soon we will be transitioning to .org, but as for now, it's experiencer.co. Now, the second major project we got going is called the Experiencer Buddy Program. And an experiencer can send us an email, and let me give you the email. It's free, Free, at experiencer.co. Once again, our email is free at experiencer.co. And you would send a message and say, look, I want a buddy. Okay, and so what a buddy is an individual who has had ET contact experiences. Okay, and is someone who Free has considered to be mentally and emotionally stable by the individuals at Free. Most of the people that are buddies are people that are in their 50s, 60s, and 70s. There's some in their 40s, but we're looking for is people that have been there, done that. People have no trauma associated with this. People have to be neutral. If you see the ETs in the love and light crowd, like Stephen Greer, you're not going to be conveying that in your comments with your experiencer. If you see them as the evil evil reptilians, like I won't name some of the people, but you know who some of these people are. We've got a couple of people who do not see the ETs very favorably. Okay, but these are people that we know that are not going to be biased in their interactions with you. Okay, so we're looking for people that are mature individuals, non-traumatized, have been dealing with this for many, many years, and that are not biased. People are totally open, and it's basically someone to talk to you and to listen to you. In the last 4 months, we have helped over 128 experiencers. Let me repeat that. In 4 months, we have helped 125 experiencers and hooked them up with a buddy. And in the last 3 days, we've had 5 people that we have helped. One person from the Netherlands, one woman from Spain, one fellow from Texas, one guy from Mississippi, and the other person, I forgot where they were from. But they come in all colors, all shapes and sizes, and we're helping them out.
That's great. That is. And, you'll get the hecklers, you'll get the people who will say that it's all nonsense, and most of those people you'll find they're actually put up to do it. So I wouldn't even worry about any of that.
Let me just give you an example of a typical question. 1/3 of the people that we've had out of these 128 people, about 1/3, they've never spoken to anyone before, except maybe if they're married to their spouse. Some of them not even their spouse. Okay, these people who are totally intimidated by society, ostracized by society to keep quiet. Okay, so for example, our geneticist in Australia, Giles Campbell, this guy's a hardcore scientist. All of a sudden, like about 8 years ago, he's with his girlfriend, they're sleeping, and all of a sudden they both see a mantid being, a praying mantis, huge, like 9 feet tall, in their bed, standing right next to them. All of a sudden they get knocked out. Okay, and they're almost traumatized by that. Who in the hell do you talk to? He couldn't talk to anybody for years. Okay, then boom, it happened to him when he was single again, and then now he's been married to his current wife. Boom, the mantis appears. Okay, since then, he's not scared of them. He's had a better relationship with this mantid being. And because he's lost the fear, the mantid being has opened up to him. But in the beginning, this guy was highly traumatized. And then who do you talk to? Oh yeah, I saw a praying mantis, in my bed last night. Well, he went to shrinks, to psychologists, a psychiatrist. All they did was medicate him with all these drugs. He said he was like a zombie, and the mantis still appeared. So he said, "The hell with it. Why am I going to become like a zombie when this bug is still coming at me?"
And I don't think that's so crazy because back in 2011. My assistant and I, we were on a break at a radio station, and we were, our show is late at night, so we were the only ones in the studio, and we came out to have a little cigarette break at the time. I used to smoke, and we're standing there, and we seen something dark in the sky, and it was, a beautiful night out, and all of a sudden, it had wings, it had feet, and we didn't know what it was. To this day, we still don't know, except it was big. And it was flapping some wings, and it had some kind of, almost looked like I hate to say it, but almost like bird feet on the back of it. It was really strange looking.
Yeah, my wife saw something like that, but small. She said it was like 2 feet tall. It had wings, and it literally jumped over the fence, and then the wings started flapping.
I would have crapped myself.
And she said it wasn't a bird because it had a long tail on it, and but it's just weird stuff that happens, when you're an experiencer.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the buddy program, okay, and that we're working with many other organizations to consolidate that service. Like right now, we're in the process of consolidating with Starborn Support because they have their own support mechanisms, and what we're doing is consolidating under one umbrella. Also, one thing I failed to tell you is we've had several recent new advisory board members. One is Yvonne Smith from Zero out of Los Angeles. Another one is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, a very intellectual woman who's written numerous books on the paranormal. And goodness, I hope I'm not forgetting anyone else. I'm praying. But it always happens because when you got so much stuff going on. But just to let you know that we still keep on, for example, with Jocelyn, we had dinner at the International UFO Conference with like maybe 8 of her members. Everyone from the group is now going to be assisting Free with all of the different projects that I'm telling you. So it's like a marriage between these both organizations. So it's not like a name, like, oh, Yvonne Smith is just a name. No, it's like they're all coming in and they're going to be working as a buddy. I already got 3 people from Yvonne's group that are going to be buddies. Okay, I'm going to put them to work.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Now let me go on through some of this other items here. We're going to be launching a radio show on another station. I don't know if you want me to talk about it, but basically,
go right
the
ahead.
other show is being hosted by one of our scientists, one of our physicists, Ralph Steiner. And it's going to be a show that's going to be mixing physics and science and the paranormal, mainly focusing on ET contact. So it's going to be focusing on the consciousness, human survival beyond death, reincarnation, past life memories, out-of-body experiences, near-death experiences, remote viewing, telepathy, ET contact, and how all of that is mixed in with quantum physics. Okay, and that's going to be at KGRA Radio, and the title of the program is The Other Side of the Universe. Okay.
Nice.
And again, that it's what we're trying to do is bring science to the ET contact phenomenon, because it's a phenomenon that's rarely spoken of in the context of hardcore science,
Yeah,
especially physics.
And for me, it's just about getting to the truth. So I never restrict anybody from mentioning any radio shows or any of that stuff. That if it's going to help us get where we're trying to go, then go ahead.
Most definitely. Thank you. And then our next service that we're providing is a therapist support list. Okay. All of a sudden, let's talk about Giles out in Australia. Okay. He thought he was going crazy. Okay. Instead of going to a psychiatrist who's going to be popping tons of medications at him. Okay. And not being able to talk about this stuff, he could have gone to a licensed therapist like Mary Rodwell. Mary has a license in psychology and is a therapist, someone who has worked with experiencers in the past. Okay. He could have gone to a regression therapist, someone that has worked with experiencers in the past and maybe talked to them, smooth them out, and done a hypnotic regression session with them. Or he could have gone to a local support group, a group that meets maybe once a month in where he lived in his area.
Sure.
But where do you go to for such a list like this? Well, you go to Free. We're going to be having it, and it's going to be international. Okay, we have several individuals that are working and compiling this list. It's not complete, but hopefully within a month, we'll have a list of several hundred individuals that'll be either licensed therapists, regression therapists, and local support groups, and they will be searched by country and by state and city. So again, no one has this, and Free is undertaking this.
No, I've never come across anything like this. I've been doing this for, in September it'll be 8 years. So
okay, this is all in 18 months, Michael, that we're doing this. Let me go on and continue. Okay, we have many other projects. Okay, one of our major projects that we still haven't launched yet is still kept internally. Okay, but we've got now 15 volunteers for this. It's called Experiencer Liberation Day. Okay, and the day that we're going to be focusing on is October 1st. Okay, now remember I told you about individuals that have had these experiences. Who do you go to? Okay, you face ostracism, rejection from family members, from friends, from your associates. Okay, you become private, reclusive, depressed. You suffer from post-traumatic stress in many of these cases. Who do you turn to? Who do you go to? Okay, people are still basically in the closet. Like gays and lesbians were 50 years ago. You are hiding and trembling in the closet, and there are millions of you, just like experiencers, but you're too afraid to come out. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to be starting is an out of the closet movement. An experiencer liberation movement. And we're calling it a movement because it's not something that's going to happen overnight. Okay. It's something that's going to gradually change over time. Okay. And it's October 1st is going to be a date where people are going to be wearing a button. Okay. We have buttons that we're going to be try to sell to collect funds for free. But it's also a signal of that you're an experiencer. And we've got this committee now being set up based upon a representative from many organizations throughout the world, okay, that are working with experiencers to try to come up with strategies for that day. Basically, it's a liberation movement for experiencers. And we've got one individual, Erica Gutch, that is going to be coordinating that for us. And she's going to be working at least 10 to 15 hours a week just on that, because it's a huge undertaking. Okay. Also at Free, we're in the process of developing a forum, an experiencer forum for people to interact with each other, to talk with each other, a secure place for you to freely communicate with other experiencers. And this forum was developed by our webmaster, Dana Donlon, and it's going to be linked to a separate website that she has. It's called Stellar Packs. So it's her website, but we're going to be using her forum. Another thing we're going to be doing is out of the closet experiencer videos. Okay. So for example, let me ask you a question there, Michael. What would be the impact if thousands of experiencers from all sectors of society, doctors, lawyers, academics, firemen, police officers, housewives, factory workers, etc., if they post on our website, we're talking thousands now, okay? And their posting will be something like this. It'll be a short 3 to 5 minute video. Hello, my name is Ray Hernandez. I'm an estate tax attorney in Miami, Florida. I think it's very important for people to come out of the closet and not be hiding and be ostracized by society. Okay, I think it's important that we go out and tell the world that we are experiencers, that we're not afraid, that there's actually millions of us all throughout the world, and that this experience is for real. Now, let me briefly tell you about my experiences. Back in 2012, my wife and I, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. So it'll be a 3 to 5 minute video that we're calling Out of the Closet Experiencer Videos, where hopefully we'll be getting thousands and thousands of individuals that are going to be self-recording. We're going to show them how they can record out of their own computers using their little cameras, okay? A 3 to 5 minute video, and then to be able to send it to us for free, free. And then we'll then put that recording on our website. And we're going to be calling it Out of the Closet Experiencer Videos.
I'll definitely send you mine, that's for sure. And when you get this radio show going, if you guys are ever looking for anybody to do a rebroadcast, I'd be more than happy to run it across the L&M radio network. Just letting you know.
Thank you. No, most definitely. So we've gotten tons of people that said that they'll do that. It's just a matter of getting someone assigned, and we've got someone in mind that has volunteered for it to head up that project. Okay. Another project that we're doing, educational workshop videos. Okay. And let me give you an example for this. We have 5 theoretical physicists in Free, okay? We could have a whole workshop of like 3 to 5 people talk about, okay, what is consciousness, okay? And have like 2 or 3 one-hour sessions to break it down so Archie Bunker can understand it. The physics of ET contact. How in the hell could it, a little gray pop his head through the wall, look around, look at your scary face and go, ah! And then pops out, Yeah. So how in the hell can that happen? Okay, so we've got our physicists that will explain the physics of how that takes place, okay? We've got all these individuals that are licensed therapists, people like Mary Rodwell, Barbara Lamb, et cetera, et cetera. People are Dr. Michael Melton, so many other people, Dr. Rebecca Fernandez, PhD psychologist working with experiencers. We could easily have like 10 different workshops, each an hour long, just on the topic of support. Okay? And on and on and on. We could have a whole panel on near-death experiences and experiencers. So you'll have experiencers talking about, their ET contact and their NDEs and why they believe they're all interrelated. We could have tons of different of these workshops. So what we want to be able to do is record them via high-definition recording services that now are readily available for, not too much, and then put these educational workshop videos for free on our website. Okay? That's never been done before. Okay? The other thing, we want to do the first ever International Experiencer Conference. Not UFO conference, Experiencer Conference. And we want it to be international. We want to bring representatives from all over the world to talk about experiencers, research in many different countries. And we also want to be able to beam it out via live video webcams to all the major countries in the world for people that cannot attend. And we are planning to do this the summer of 2017. We're targeting Orlando, Florida. So the summer of 2017. So we've got a long time to do it because we want, like everything else that we're doing it free, it has to be done correctly, professionally, with integrity to the experiencer.
Fantastic.
Another thing that we have in our free website, again, our website is experiencer.co. We have tons of educational articles, we have 16 articles on the physics of ET contact and consciousness, the physics of consciousness, that are written by our physicists, and some of them are non-physicists. For example, Dr. Joe Lewis, who has a PhD in journalism, okay, he wrote a chapter of one of his books, which is an exceptional piece that discusses the quantum hologram theory of physics. So for Archie Bunker to read. Archie Bunker can go look at there and say, oh, now I understand it, Yes. So we've got articles in there for all levels of comprehension. We even have 2 articles that are like, boy, Ray, those other 13 articles I can understand, but those last 2, I don't have an idea what's going on. Those 2 articles are for the scientists. One of them was written by Dr. Edgar Mitchell, and another one was by, he's one of the sirs in physics, and not Stephen Hawkins. Oh, goodness, I've just had a mind meltdown here. It's not David Bohm. Anyway, one of the top theoretical physicists in the world. He's still alive. He wrote that article with this other, with a medical doctor named Stuart Hameroff. Sir Roger Penrose, that's what it is, Sir Roger Penrose, okay? So it's a heavy-duty article on what is consciousness, okay? But as I said, most of the articles there on physics and consciousness are for a reasonable person to understand. Wow. And then we got tons of articles on experiences. We've got orbs. We've got the different modalities of ET contact. We've got exopolitics. You name it, we've got articles on that subject. And we're looking for people to contribute articles to free. If you have a book that you've published, has to be related to experiencers, not UFO stuff, okay? So if you've got a book that you've published, we'd be willing to publish a chapter of your book with links, to Amazon or wherever you're selling the book. So we want basically our website to be a depository and a repository for experiencers, okay? Now, the last project that we're undertaking is a TV show that we're doing a sizzler reel for. Okay, and the tentative title of the show is Free Presents Awakening to Contact. And it'll be somewhat similar to like the MUFON Hangar 1, MUFON Presents Hangar 1, which has their base case histories. What we're going to be presenting is every week a new experiencer or experiencer and his families. And we're going to be putting in there our physicists to explain the physics behind what went on with his or her experiences. We're going to be having people like, Barbara Lamb, Mary Rodwell, Kathleen Martin, Whitley Strieber, some of these other well-known people, to spice up with some of their information. Like, for example, Kathleen Martin might say, okay, out of an ET going through a wall, I must have spoken with at least 200 experiencers that mentioned an ET going through a wall. Dr. Rudy Shields from Harvard will say, well, let me explain the physics of how this can take place. An ET popping his head, looking around and popping it back.
Well, I would like to get some of you on the show together sometime, because that's some fascinating stuff right there. And I've often wondered, could some of this ghost activity that people talk about, could it be related to the Greys? Because I've heard stories too from people about these Greys walking right through the walls.
Well, the vast majority of the members of our board have a hypothesis that all of the paranormal phenomenon are associated with ET contact. Okay? All of our physicists pretty much know for a fact that all of our paranormal phenomena is associated with ET contact, because all of them are scholars of the quantum hologram theory of physics and its derivative explanation of what is consciousness. Okay? And it's a little bit too complicated to go into that now, given the short time duration that we have. Right. But basically, all of us see that the paranormal is integrative to all of this. I wrote a paper, one of the questions that we have in our survey is, do you now possess information of advanced science or physics that the normal person should not have, after you've had the ET contact? And I think it's like 60% said yes. Okay? And in my case, it's illustrative of that. It's like basically 9 months after I had my initial contact experience, I wrote a paper called The Paranormal Quantum Hologram Theory of ET Contact, where I discuss 9 different modalities within the paranormal rubric of how people are having ET contact. And I go into discuss the quantum hologram theory of physics and consciousness. And here's a guy that I told you before, I had no interest in this stuff. I didn't know any math or physics. I had no interest in that stuff. And here I am writing a sophisticated paper on that topic. Okay, and that matches up with the response to that question that I just told you earlier. Question 54. Let me see if I could dig it up real quick so I can give you the exact. Oh, here it is, right here, right in front of me. Do you believe that you possess information about advanced technology, advanced physics, or other scientific information that you've never read or learned in your normal environment? 44% of the people said yes, out of 431 people that answered that question. It's a huge amount. Yeah. Okay? And don't tell me that society at large would have answered, anywhere close to that. No, of course not. Okay? So our radio, our TV program is going to be having, the initial year, we want to focus on doctors, lawyers, PhD academics, professionals, people that are perceived by society to be credible. Even though the housewife next door can be even more credible, especially when you're talking about lawyers. They're all full of, Yeah. But at least society perceives doctors, lawyers, academics, and professionals to be more credible. So the first show, we want to have these types of people. And we've got already a lot of people in mind that would be willing to do this, lawyers, doctors, academics, PhDs, and things of that sort. Yeah. So then we'd be bringing in our physicists to talk about the physics of what's going on. Then we bring our researchers, those famous names that we mentioned. And then finally, we'll bring the statistic. For example, we have a question in here that's about people seeing ETs going through walls or windows. And it's a very high number. Okay, so we'll throw out that data, that statistic. So many percent of experiencers have actually had this experience. Okay, so that's going to be our TV series, and it's basically going to be free presents, because we want all of these the TV show to focus back on all the projects that we're doing, because we want to expose to the world our research study, for people to take our study. We want to expose to the world a buddy program. So you're having trauma, we want you to hook you up with a buddy. We want you to participate in our Experiential Liberation Day. We want you to go to our website to look up all the therapists that we have in our support list, et cetera, et cetera. So we want the TV show basically to loop back to the different projects that we're doing within Free. Instead of just like these standalone programs, like instead of a show that's just focusing on experiencers. Oh, my name is, John Smith. Let me tell you about the crazy experience I had. And then it's like a whole show about his crazy experience. No. We want to do it totally different. We want to incorporate science. We want to incorporate the actual scientific study of our research to show that when we're saying something, it's backed up by data and research. And we want the top researchers in the field to comment about what's going on. So that show, the tentative title for that is Free Presents Awakening to Contact TV show. And right now we're in the process of doing a sizzler reel, and that's why I'm going up to Edgar's house this Monday. I'm going to be there Monday, the 2nd, I believe it is, of March, in a couple of days, with a TV crew. And there's another TV crew that's going to be up in Harvard to film Dr. Rudy Shields. And it's going to be an interview that Ralph Steiner is going to be doing as the kickoff show for our first free radio program. And we're also going to be using the video for our Sizzler TV demo, and also for a crowd sourcing video that we're going to be using to do some fundraising for free. So in a nutshell, I'm sort of exhausted now. That's a little bit of everything that we're doing in Free. It's quite comprehensive, and it's never been done before.
I am looking absolutely forward to digging into this deeper, watching this TV show. I hope it all takes off, because this is fascinating. I mean, this is what I always ask for. It's like, when people, I get all kinds of emails and different things from people about their experiences, and I always ask, it doesn't hurt to ask, well, do you have any proof? And some people get offended by that, and others will say, well, no, well, I'm not going to argue with anybody's experience. I mean, if it's your experience, it's real to you. I just want to, for me, it's important that people believe what they're telling me, and that they're not wasting my time. And I find that most people aren't. Most people are telling the truth. And you do get a few jokers, and the way you've got things set up, I mean, your average joker is not going to even waste their time with that, because it's too time consuming.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in order to put a fast one over us, you need to put in a lot of hours, okay? And experiencers, we want answers. For example, I was on the phone with this man. He's from the South. Arkansas. He was from Arkansas. Very Southern, accent. Okay. I won't tell you his name. Okay. And he said in his whole lifetime, in 37 years since he's had experiences, he's told maybe 5 people. Okay. And he's searching for answers. He says, Ray, why are they coming to me? Why me? Okay. And then the other question he had is like, why? Why are they here? What do they want? And so what I told him was that, look, anyone that pretends to have any answers to this is full of it, Yeah. Even Mary Rodwell, and Leo Sprinkle, they tell me, Ray, anyone that comes and acts like they have all the answers, they're full of it, because we don't. We only know the tip of an iceberg, a little tiny bit. Okay. Now our research study is going to, chip away at that ice. We're going to be finding out more and more and more. But we've got a long way to go. So I was telling this individual, I said, participate in the survey, and he told me he already took it. And I said, I'm going to hook you up with a couple of buddies, and I hooked them up with 3 people, for him to talk to. And I also talked to him for an hour and a half. And you have to understand, Mike, the commitment that this thing takes. Here I am. The last 3 days, I've spoken with 5 people. Just this last fellow was an hour and a half. Okay, wow. Because these are people that have no one to talk to, Michael. Who in the hell do you talk to? And he's, one of these, Southern guys, like, hardcore guys, I'll be laughed out of the, my job, if I tell anybody at my job, about what's going on,
Yeah.
and so you got to respect that. And so we're trying to do the right thing, which is help people out, give them support. We're trying to educate them, and we're trying to study what's going on. Those are the three missions of Free. Free has three missions: educate, support, and research. And all of our projects fall with one of or more of those mandates. And as I said before, it's a coalition of individuals and organizations. They're still separate and independent. It's not like everything's being run out of Free. No, they still have their separate and independence. All they're doing is chipping in resources, either themselves or people from their organizations, to work on collaborative projects, because these projects are too big for one little tiny organization to do. And the problems with this movement in the past, it wasn't even a movement. The problem is that you've had hundreds of little organizations all across the country that are working with experiencers. But while they might know each other, they're not working with each other. They might see each other once a year at a conference. Oh, hi, I haven't seen you in a year, that type of stuff, okay? But what we're doing with these major projects, they involve a lot of work. They involve teamship, collaboration, and we're doing that now, Michael.
All right, great. And Ray, we've got a call, and we've got 563 area code. You are on Late Night in the Midlands. First name, where you're calling from, please.
Yes, Michael. My name is Caesar, and I'm calling from Muscatine, Iowa.
Well, welcome aboard, Caesar.
Thank you, Michael. Ray, I've been listening to the show very intently, and I would like to explain why I think we live in a holographic environment or world. Can I go ahead and tell you this dream that I've had, Ray?
Sure, please. I just want to tell you that our 5 physicists in Free all agree with you.
Oh, great, perfect. Well, then this should go really smooth. I'll be quick, Ray. Let me see what year. I believe around the year 1992. I was in the desert and I had a dream where this ground metallic spear would appear in the desert, and I wasn't myself. I was in a dream, you see, and it was able to go ahead and at first, when I first saw it, it was a bright shining light because it was reflecting the rays off the sun, so it nearly blinded me. So it comes in closer like an orb. And this round metallic sphere, it looked like a very shiny. It looked like the Sputnik object. As a matter of fact, it was very reminiscent of the glorification of the Eucharist. Yes, the glorification of the Eucharist painting, where you have Jesus Christ on one side sitting down, then you have another godlike old man figure to the right sitting down, and in the middle there is a round sphere with 2 antennas sitting right in the middle. That's exactly what it looked like, Ray. And so now when the sphere was approaching me, I could sense that it had little diodes on there, like light-emitting diodes, and it came close to me, and at first, like it had artificial intelligence, highly advanced artificial intelligence, and then it moved away because it was shocked that I was able to see it, as if I must have had the eyes of Horus, or I don't know, maybe I was in some godlike form or something. But either way, it moved away, and then when it moved away, like 3 or 4 other spears went close to it. And from what I could gather, I believe they exist in the ether form, in the ether, or some higher realm dimension, and I believe they're there to go ahead and collect visual information, as well as oral information. But beyond that, I think they form a grid, more like a net, to produce a holographic environment that we live in today. What you guys would most certainly call something like the Matrix. Either way, now this is the kicker here. It came back at me again. So when it got close, I said to myself, no one is going to believe this dream of mine. So what I did, Ray, I grabbed it, and there was so much power in that, it nearly burned me, and I think I probably died doing it. But either way, I grabbed it, and my arms were barely able to reach around it, but I pulled it from whatever dimension it was in, which I wasn't supposed to be able to do, and I laid it right there in the desert, and I woke up the next thing you know, it was gone. But I believe those things they have a net, and they produce a holographic environment that we live in today. It would explain everything, right? It would explain how consciousness is able to go from our death to somewhere else. It would explain how the ability for time travel. It would explain so much in this world now. It would explain how showers fork, how the strange weather patterns that we're having now. And even when you look up in the sky, how things are formed in a grid. And things just don't make sense unless you live in a holographic environment. But I would like your intake on that, Ray, and I'll go ahead and take my answer off the air.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah. Let me just what I emphasized before is that we have 16 articles on our website under the topic headings of physics of contact and consciousness. Dr. Rudy Shields wrote an article specifically for free titled The Modern Miracles and the Quantum Hologram. And there he tries to discuss in a simple way how the quantum hologram theory of physics and what is consciousness can describe the various paranormal phenomena. Dr. Edgar Mitchell has about 3 articles in our website that talk about consciousness and the quantum hologram theory of physics. Now, these are a little bit heavy duty for a lot of people to understand, but from my perspective, if you go through these 16 articles and read each one and take your time reading them, that will go a long way for you to be able to understand the complexities of our true reality. Okay? That we live in a multiverse reality. That we live in a reality that is made up, let's say in layman's term, different spirit worlds. And that the theory of all of our physicists is that a good majority, if not most of these ETs, interact both physically and spiritually. And spiritually, I'm not talking about God. I'm talking about in this matrix type of reality. Some scientists call it the 0-point energy fields. Okay, but it's basically, for you to conceive of it as like a matrix of multi-universes that they're able to come in and out through these multi-dimensional realities. And so if you really want to understand the true nature of our reality and how the top physicists in the world are looking at this, then I would recommend to take a look at those 2 sections on our website.
All right, fantastic. We've got a couple more calls here, Ray. We've got David. David, welcome aboard.
Good evening, Michael. I just wanted to thank Ray for all of his input this evening on this most amazing program, and tell him that I just sent him an email at free@experience.co, and in it I've got 3 videos for you to take a look at, Ray. They speak specifically about the new molecular electron concept in our body, and how by reversing the spin of the fluids, you can live for up to 1,000 years in a lifetime now. And this is information that I have gotten from a source, which is a bit unbelievable, but this program tonight just riveted me to my chair, and I just had to call you and thank you for all of the information you shared.
You're very welcome, and I'll take a look at that information.
Great. And I was wondering if, since I live in Los Angeles, if I asked for a buddy, but I wondered if you could perhaps ask Barbara Lamb to give me a call, since I'm in the San Fernando Valley now, and I could speak with her specifically about these what's been happening with your group and the direction you guys are going in.
Okay, I'll try my best, but we'll certainly hook you up with at least 2 individuals for you to speak with, and preferably people from the Los Angeles area.
Super. Well, this is because 20 years ago I had the experience of seeing a circular craft over my house for 2 days, and then on the third day I met and shook hands with the individuals, 2 of them, and since then they've been communicating to me regularly, telepathically. But I've also looked up in the sky and seen their vehicles on several different nights, even out here in the San Fernando Valley. And what they've told me is they plan to implode the artificial moon above on September 28th of this year, which will rotate this planet 80 degrees and put both North and South America on the new equatorial line. So that was all just, blew me away, this information that I got, but it kind of blew me away to see a craft over my house for 2 days in a row and shake hands with them too 20 years ago. But since then, I've become real familiar with them and real, like you said, real relaxed and real able to intake this information. And I wanted to share this with your group.
Well, thank you. I would also encourage you to take our survey. And if you proceed through all the 2 surveys, you will be interviewed by someone.
Great.
One of our experiencers, and then you could tell them your whole story, and we could fully document it.
Excellent, Ray. Thank you so much for this program tonight. And Michael, keep up the great work.
Thank you, David. Keep up the great calls. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night, gentlemen.
All right. Good night, my friend.
Good night.
All right. And next up, we have Ira. Ira, welcome aboard.
Good evening. You're getting lots of calls tonight, Michael.
Yeah, I love it.
Ray, seriously, awesome call. This has been great. I've really been riveted with all the information that you've been giving, and I think it's just awesome. Fantastic work that you're doing. I wanted to call in and ask you, you were mentioning earlier about experiencers like kind of downloading things. And what I wanted to call about, I know that I'm not the only one that's experienced this. I know of a few others at least that have, but a lot of times when I dream like there is a figure above me, sort of like a doorway or something like that there's a figure that's there. I know that it's a friend, I guess you could say. But the whole dream, there's this sensation of information that's being downloaded into me. And it's like there's this deep level of information that's just pouring out of this entity, I guess you could say, into my system. And then when I wake up, I feel like there is just something that has occurred with my brain, basically, that suddenly I'm like expanded out with a little bit extra knowledge that I didn't have before. I wanted to see what your take on that was and see if that kind of relates to anything that you've been talking about or experiencers and that sort of thing.
Well, there's a lot of individuals that are experiencers that describe very similar circumstances that you're having. Many individuals describe many dreams that are very, very realistic. And in the beginning, they did not associate their experiences with ET contact. But then as they start talking to other experiencers, they see that their dreams are very, very similar. Other individuals wake up with something that you've had, these types of dreams, and there has been a paranormal phenomenon associated with it. And then they start saying, well, wait a second, I'm having these paranormal phenomenon associated with it the same night that I'm having these types of dreams. And also, many individuals state that that a lot of ETs knock them out. That they don't recall recollections of their experiences, but they do recall very vivid dreams, and that's the difference. Mary and Barbara and some of the other senior members of our group have always told me from a long time ago. They said, Ray, how do you differentiate a regular dream from a dream that's associated with ET contact? Okay, and what they always tell me is, if it's a dream that you like know all the details, you could remember it like what happened yesterday when you were, walking, in the park, all the details. You smelled, the flower, all the details of the people that you saw, A normal dream is not like that. A normal dream, you remember it in fragments, a little bit here, a little bit tiny there, that type of stuff. But a lot of experiences describe the dreams that they're having as it's like a recollection from the day before. Very detailed.
Those.
Very cool. Yeah, that sounds just about right to me. Yep. Okay, great. Thanks, Ray, and thank you, Michael, for having him on tonight. Awesome call.
All right, thank you, Ira. I appreciate the call. And yeah, Ray, I've had those. I've got, most dreams you just remember bits and pieces, and the longer you're awake, when you wake up, you start forgetting even more of it. But then I've had some that just stick with me. I mean, I could tell them like it's something I lived. I mean, I could tell the story like it's something I lived, but yeah, fascinating stuff. But we've got about another 10 minutes here. So if there's anything else that you'd like to get out that you haven't, I mean, you've given us a ton of information. You've got me excited. I can't wait to just dig into this stuff more.
Well, we're just coming out now. Very few individuals know about what we're doing. It's important to get the word out. If there are any experiencers that are listening to your in your audience now, spread the word. Tell people to check out our website. If you need a buddy, tell them, look, here's a program where you can request a buddy. There's a survey that you could do. There's all these programs that we're working on right now, and just spread the word to others that here's an organization that's a coalition of many different organizations, and that we're all working in partnership, not fighting each other, but in partnership, dialoguing and communicating with each other to finally undertake these comprehensive projects that needed to be done, many, many years ago, focusing on the experiencer. And again, it's not, UFO related stuff. It's not these conspiracy theories and things like that. These are, things that are meant specifically for the experiencer, people that are having contact with non-intelligent human beings. And once again, our website is experiencer.co, and our email is free@experiencer.co.
All right. Well, Ray, I thank you so much for taking time out to be with us tonight. I have really enjoyed this. I look forward to actually having you back, and anybody else from your group who would be interested in coming on. I just don't hesitate. Let me know, and I'll definitely make it happen.
Oh, sure. We've got plenty of people. We can bring you Ralph Steiner. He could talk a whole show just on science and physics, and unlike some of the other members in our group, Ralph can actually explain it for the masses. If we were to bring Rudy on board, I always tell Rudy that he's got to try to tone it down a little bit, because some of these things are highly, extremely complicated. But Ralph can present it to the masses, and he could talk at the same time about free. We could bring Mary on board. She could talk about the work that she's doing in Australia. She's now finishing a book on children that are having ET contact. And it's a whole book basically about, not only different experiences that children are having, but also a book for parents. How do you deal with when your child has these types of experiences? And she could talk about numerous other cases that she's worked on. She just told me that over the last month, she's encountered 4 medical doctors. Okay. So like I said before, it comes with all shapes and colors and sizes. Free has 5 doctors in Free, but 2 are retired. So they're out of the closet. That's Dr. Joseph Burks and Dr. Lynn Katai. But the other three are still practicing physicians. They're not going to come out. They might lose their licenses. And this has to change. This is crazy. These people are truly having these experiences, just like me, Except in my case, I don't care because I've had the highest valuations from my supervisor for 16 years. I've had the highest valuations. So I would basically have to be caught, with Obama's wife, in the bedroom or something like that for me to get fired, So, and I've also decided to come out publicly, and it's a lot of people don't take that risk, especially a board certified, surgeon, all of a sudden you're cutting up someone's heart, and at the same time, I've met a mantid being, when I had breakfast, he came by. He had some scrambled eggs with me. I think you're crazy.
We got a question from the chat, and JH asked about black-eyed children.
I've never had not one experiencer mention that.
No? Oh,
none.
Okay.
And I've spoken to at least 200 people.
All right. Well, I mean, is there anybody that I guess some of the members who explain all these paranormal phenomena, they might know a little something, maybe. I hear about these black-eyed children, but I don't know a whole lot about them.
Well, we pretty have the cream of the crop.
Yeah,
yeah,
you do.
In our organization, no one has mentioned that. No one has even mentioned that as a question to ask.
I see. So
maybe it might come out in the interviews or something like that, but. Many times in these situations, someone will write a book about a topic. That book will go viral, Then other people, I saw, a black-eyed kid. I saw a black-eyed kid and stuff like that. But when you actually have the hard data, the raw data, and we now have almost 800 people that have taken this, it has not been mentioned.
Okay. Well, I've had people mention it to me, but I haven't seen too much on it. So, but it was a question that came up, so I thought I'd throw it your way.
Sure. I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm just saying that so far our researchers, the people that are talking to thousands and thousands of experiencers, they haven't mentioned it as a phenomenon that they're seeing.
Yeah, when I think of black eyes, I think of the Grays. I don't know.
Yeah.
But Ray, thank you so much. I've enjoyed this Friday night. You've really filled us with some great information and certainly some stuff to actually look forward to in ufology and in the paranormal, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, most definitely. And when you do talk to other hosts of your station, tell them about what we're doing, because no one has an idea what we're doing. We're trying to get on radio shows and people say, "Oh, free," and who's the guy? Ray Hernandez. Next.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'll get in contact with you after the show, probably by tomorrow afternoon, and maybe you could send me some stuff, and I'll put it up on the website for you.
Sounds good. Perfect. Thank you,
right.
Michael.
Well, thank you very much, and have a great weekend, and fascinating show. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Have a great night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
All right, everybody. There you have it. When I started this show tonight, I didn't know where exactly it was going to go. He sent me a ton of stuff to keep me busy for a while, really. So I'll be honest, I didn't get a chance to go through a whole lot of it. But I had the gist. I knew we were going to be talking about this foundation, but I had no idea how fascinating this research foundation is, and I'm glad that he sent me an email and wanted to come on the show, and I'm looking forward to many more great guests he's got that's like the if you grew up with, say, the Super Friends, I don't know if you remember that cartoon. Well, here's that Hall of Justice right there. It's like all the best superheroes under one roof. But in reality, this is good. You've got a lot of people, smart people, intelligent people, and experiencers, and just experts in the field, all putting their brains together. I love this idea, and it's something we'd support. Now, my experiences, it kind of makes me wonder now because, I did look through some of the information that he sent, and like he said, how the paranormal, like ghost activity, some of it could be related to ET activity. It could be one and the same, and that kind of, in a sense, it just kind of messes with my mind because I've had paranormal activity. I've had a haunted apartment, and to think that could be ETs, I mean, that's kind of crazy. I've been, not that it's crazy, like not true, but just what it does to you. And of course, I had the encounter with my mother, and I mean, who knows? Maybe when we leave this world, maybe we go with the ETs. Maybe, we're on borrowed time here because we've got to get back to the mothership. Maybe that's heaven. I don't know, but there's going to be some fascinating stuff to keep up with in the next, hopefully, several years with Ray and everybody else who's involved. So we do have them linked up on the homepage of LateNightInTheMidlands.com. So feel free to go over there and click the link. And we're going to put something up. Well, we've got some space on the website. We'll get something like this. I mean, I'm all for plugging away at it because this is good stuff. I mean, this is what you haven't seen. I mean, I know there's some, like one I won't mention, but a ufologist who has all of a sudden, it's like, I don't know, he's taken a total turnaround on what he used to say, and now it seems like he debunks it all. And I wonder what happens. Do you just get fed up? Do you lose your mind? Do the ETs get to you? Have the pressure got to you? I don't know, but it hasn't got to me. Folks, I'll tell you, I'm going to say this again. I certainly don't want to be a repeat, if you know what I mean. But 3 of my 6 UFO experiences, 3 of them were fantastic. Okay, the last one was the most amazing, absolutely the most amazing, and that was the one I briefly told our guest about tonight with those orange tubular objects. But again, I mean, at first glance, they look like 4 tubes military formation floating through the sky, and it was the same thing. I could have hit them with a rock. They were that close. I could have threw a rock at them. But it almost, I mean, it was the most perfect color I've ever seen. You're not going to find this color anywhere else, not on this planet, not that I know of. I mean, it was that brilliant. And you didn't see windows, you didn't see movement. The thing was just moving along slowly. And, now I think it was a mothership, but I think the dark parts in between those tubes, I think were part of the ship. I don't think it was just the black sky behind it, but I mean, this thing was probably the size of a football field. I'm going to go with that. Maybe a football and a half field, but it was huge. And, to have these experiences and to have experience with the paranormal, I feel like, I'm spoiled because when you have these, it's not enough. I mean, you always want this type of experience, right? Most people do. They'd love to see a UFO. They'd love to see a ghost. Pretty much everybody would love something like that, but you can have it happen 20 times in your life and it's not enough. It's just not enough. I want to know more. I want to have the answers before I kick the bucket. I'd like to know what is on the other side. Where are we going when we leave? I'd love to know these things, but when you do have a paranormal encounter, he said something very interesting, like they control your mind. And it would almost seem that way because, I mean, when there are paranormal encounters, what's the first things you ask? Who are you? Did you die here? Things like that, right? Did somebody kill you? But we never ask, hey, what's it like over there on the other side? And I think if we did ask, they're not going to answer, but it's like you get stirred away from those questions. But I don't know. It's just, this is great stuff. I know what I'll be doing this weekend. I'll be over there on his website, digging into as much of it as I can, because I love the relation, especially with the Bigfoot and the UFO phenomena. I've always, since I've been doing this, that has been how I've linked it. Only because people say, well, now they're there, now they're not. They disappear. And that kind of sounds like, in memory of Spock, a beam me up, Scotty kind of thing. So I don't know. I think there's a relation there. Unless you could find me a nest and show me a Bigfoot in that nest, I'd have to say that if we're going to say Bigfoot's a real phenomena, then Bigfoot is interdimensional or it's ET related, or maybe both. That's what I think. But there's so much. We'll be loading next month with some great guests. I can guarantee you that, and several months to come. But folks, that's going to do it for us tonight. I hope everybody enjoys their weekend. Folks, please, we're almost there. I want to thank everybody who has donated. We're still a little bit off, so folks, please help us out and donate and subscribe to Late Night in the Midlands. Keep our network on the air because we bring you the truth. We're a very small network, but I'm on several other networks. The Dark Matter Radio Network, where this show will be broadcasting Sunday night. So everybody, please don't call in over there because I probably should have said that at the beginning of the show. But always recorded for you, at least for now, over on Dark Matter. But what a fascinating show. Folks, enjoy the weekend and help us out if you can. It keeps us here. I mean, we could do great things. I love what Ray's doing, bringing people together. That's what I'm talking about. We got to come together if we're ever going to change this paradigm. That's coming together. What Ray's doing is what I'm talking about. Folks, keep your eyes posted to the sky because you never know what you might see. Keep your ears posted to this broadcast because you never know what you might learn. Tune in tomorrow night for Rascala's Red Pill reality show. Sunday, we've got Ryan and, we're still trying to fill a spot there. So for now, just check the schedule over on LateNightInTheMidlands.com. And thank you, everyone. Enjoy your weekend and have a great night. Good night, everybody.